We'll open the meeting with a salute to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to get started this evening a little bit early because we have a presentation from the Park Committee. Amy, thank you very much for coming in, putting this together. I would like to just, I think the easiest thing to do is let Amy go through the presentation, make any notes and questions we have, and then maybe at the end we'll go through questions. That way we don't stop, go the whole time.
That's fine. That's
So,
fine. And it's
I
only
think
10
that's-
slides, so hopefully 10
Yeah.
minutes or.
And that way we can just kind of talk at the end.
Talk about it as we go.
Well, I think it's easier to let her make the presentation, then we can go back through any questions and clear up anything we have. I believe it's easier.
You guys have my slides in front of you, so you can make your notes along the way. But
Okay.
these are, yeah.
All right. So
You
Amy,
sure?
yeah,
Okay,
up to you.
okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Well, thank you guys for allowing me this time tonight to review the 2020 park priorities as they are detailed. Sorry, I can't do this to talk. In the existing conditions and recommendations report for Hetling. And I wanted to just go through a few things tonight because we did submit this in February and it was accepted and finalized by the town board and it is now on our website, I'm happy to say. But I wanted to go through some of the priorities that stuck out, just so you know where we're headed, basically with the park committee. And so I know at this point that there are many other pressing issues that the board's dealing with and facing right now, but I'm sure you all will agree that the town central green space is of utmost importance, as it's located in some of the town's prime real estate for visibility, which ultimately showcases the town's values and offers a place for respite during these unsettled times. The park committee would particularly like to request the board's serious consideration of our current and future recommendations, given that the committee has proven that they are a committed volunteer group of Claremont residents dedicated to the park's success, who have put in a considerable amount of time planning and with hands-on labor over the past 3 years. Okay, so the next one is just basically something you've already seen, and this is something you might remember. It's the overall schematic plan that summarizes most of the recommendations in the 2020 park plan. You have the copy in front of you, and we can refer to it should you have questions about anything that comes up tonight. Okay, so for tonight, I will review some of the key 2020 recommendations that was set forth in the plan. So you all, I think, received a copy of the plan, and they're all right in the back. So we're really just walking through the 2020 recommendations, so you know what we're thinking and how we're prioritizing everything. It does, like I said, lay out priorities for the next 5+ years, as you can see, immediate, short-term, mid-term, and long-term. But given that this year we got off to a bit of a late start, we're going through the 2020, the immediate priorities, of which I know you guys have already started on, so I really appreciate the work that you've done so far this year. And then we'll talk a little bit about the short-term, next year's priorities in some of the budget planning later. Okay, so let's see. Again, I just want to acknowledge that this is a hard time, difficult time to publicize and promote and even fundraise and gather in celebration of our parks. However, the committee as a whole wanted to compile this overview for the next several months, so it's a little bit clearer what we're doing. First off, I want to summarize what the park committee has accomplished this year, which has been great, despite the fact that we've only met remotely since April. So number one, so far, we have reconvened our committee of 8 very dedicated individuals. We nominated and elected a chair and secretary to lead the group. Number 2, we submitted grant proposals to the AARP and the Iroquois Community Grant for plantings, benches, and trails. We designated, designed and priced and ordered and planted 33 trees and shrubs in May. And ever since, a rotating group of committed volunteers has been watering and weeding out there and weed whacking, which was a very important job this summer, given all the heat and no rain until recently. And then number 4, we advertised and consulted with the town board on the new park rule signs, the Veterans Monument path, materials for the stockpile relocation, fencing, parking lot bumper options, and tool shed options. And number 5, we have started updating the park page on the website page on the Town of Claremont website with our 2020 park plan and a volunteer response form in hopes that we could get more volunteers to join the group with different interests and priorities. And lastly, we met with additional Claremont Park friends to explore the option of developing a Friends of Claremont Parks group that will merge eventually with the park committee to more easily, hopefully, fundraise and apply for grants and hold events and implement projects set forth in the park plan. So this is just a quick reminder that the park plan is divided into 4 priority subheadings. That's planning, maintenance, safety, and infrastructure. And that these 4 subheadings help highlight basically how we organize our 2020 park priorities and goals that guide the park committee's work. Okay, so all of these listed priorities here are taken right out of the plan, like I mentioned. The check mark shows that we have nearly completed the task, either completed or nearly completed the task. There's also in progress and TBD or to be determined, also indicated in red, to let you know how far we've gotten with each of these other ones. But I'm really glad to report that we did share the final recommendations park plan report with the town in February 2020, and now it's uploaded to the town website. So that one's done. The next one is create a trails committee to seek funding, finalize specifications, select contractors, and all I put to be determined because we really don't have a committee as of today. We have Bob Desmond, who has really solely worked on this and started the path to the Veterans Monument this year, which is currently being installed. The park committee would like to request at this juncture, though, that implementation of the trails and the building of the trails to be a collaborative effort. So whenever new trails go in, we would love to know about them and be consulted on a more general basis and specific basis on their location, materials, etc.
Maybe the trails to date have basically been just mowed trails,
Yes.
and people have been using them. And
Yes.
we don't have any plans at this point to change any of those trails as far as moving them here
No,
and
we
there.
may want to. We haven't thought it through enough. I mean, what's there now is just kind of by default because that's what was there before. So it's
Right.
something that probably needs to be.
We do
thought
have
about.
some proposed new trails in the plan,
Yeah.
and some of them are differ from the mode
See,
paths.
one of the things that I'm concerned about, I know Ray wanted to wait till the end, but I think we're going to miss it if we don't.
Go ahead.
One of the things I'm concerned about is we had a proposal not too far back to spend $20,000 for engineering work to plan those trails.
I don't
And
think
that's just way out of line.
absolutely. I don't think
And I saw over towards the back that it's about authorizing the committee to just go ahead, almost like giving you blank carte blanche to go ahead. And I don't want to do that either. I want to do piece by piece
Mhm.
that we know specifically what we're doing.
Mhm. So do we.
And
So do we. No, we can't do any more general planning. I think the planning has been done, and we
Okay.
put forth all our ideas in the plan. And any new trails, which I think is the focus of this, of the board, to add new trails to the park first, is one of the main priorities
Right.
moving forward. We would just do it as a collaborative effort.
Okay. There's two things that I know Ray and I have talked about, and maybe with some of the others, that we'd like to get the screening from the Miller's property done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that I think is a top priority
Okay.
thing, and I would suggest, and you may have better suggestions, but my suggestion would be some forsythia, maybe some lilacs and Rose of Sharon, because that's a later blooming thing. We'd have flowers there through the year, you know, and I'm not sure exactly how to mix them in. And I'd look for your input on that, and you may have something else to add.
That's one of the
to that.
bullets on this slide, so we will get to that
Yeah.
if you want.
And
And
the other thing that I'd like to do very soon, so that it can actually still be used this fall, is 2 picnic tables, lightweight, either plastic or aluminum. Because the ones that we had over in the other park that were wood, you know,
Mhm.
they were never stained and they're, you know, not holding up too well. But either plastic or aluminum, and one up on the top of the hill by the monument, and one between the 2 trees to the west of where the trail is going up. I've noticed people coming in there and picnicking on the ground, and it's shady during the hot time of the day, and gets sunny later in the day, but then, you know, it's getting cooler. So those are two things that we've thought
Okay.
about, if we can put that on
Okay,
the list
got
and
that.
talk about it, you know, later or whenever.
Sure. I did lay out some specific plant choices for screening in our agricultural and our ornamental hedgerows. So it's in the plan as far as what type of native plants to use. Forsythia is not a native plant, but there's similar plants that are native that look like it.
So what's wrong with forsythia?
Nothing really, nothing really. I just thought that the park.
I mean, that's what our engineer has recommended many times for screening. Like
Sure.
when we have people that
sure.
want to put up
I get it.
solar panels, you know, and we look for screening, and that's one that's easy to do, and it's very nice looking, especially in the spring.
I know. There's just a movement right now that it does not attract the native insects. And we need all the insects we can get, and forsythia is a general all-purpose shrub. It will serve a lot of purposes and do a lot of things, but there are things like spice bush and witch hazel that are native and act exactly the same way as forsythia and are better right now for our earth and attracting different insects and native pollinators to the area.
Okay.
So instead of a more sterile landscape that basically doesn't get chewed at all, but I mean, this is just a movement in horticulture right now that native plants are being planted out and pushed because we need pollinators right now. So that's they operate exactly the same way. They're just different plants, and I laid them out in here.
Can that
Different
also-
ones.
Can that
Trees
also
and
be
shrubs.
planted in like a solid row instead of like clusters?
It would
Because-
be, you know what, I would recommend trees and shrubs together, to tell you the truth. If you do a solid row, you're gonna have a monoculture, and you're not gonna have the diversity of different birds, bees, and butterflies there. So if we want this park to be aesthetically pleasing as well as serving to the ecology, then I would recommend a mixed border. That's what we laid out here. It can be just as beautiful. What we did already are mixes. I mean, we have witch hazel clumps already, and we have some red twig dogwood clumps. That was only because we couldn't buy as many things as we wanted. I hope to fill in between with more trees and additional shrubs there. That's my hope. But you know, like I said, we planted 33 different trees and shrubs, and that's what we could do. But the plan is to continue that border between the Miller residence and the park, because there is nothing, and do more there. Absolutely.
Yeah, on the east
And they're
side,
flowering. The things we planted are
the
absolutely
east side of
flowering.
the park, the west side of the Miller property, I
Mhm.
mean, I've had conversations with them not too long ago where they're still wanting something there, and
Mhm.
they're specifically concerned because there's so many people that they don't know that come into the park and their kids are playing in the
I
back.
get it. Mhm.
Okay, so that's why we'd like to maybe get something that fills in
Yes.
pretty quick.
Yes. Yep. We just need the funds to make that happen and the volunteer labor. But so far, you know, if we keep going at the pace, we'll get it filled in. We just need the funds to get it all that
Yeah.
planned in.
But
planted.
specifically that
It's a
row,
long stretch.
that row where there's grapevines at one part of it, so we could probably, you know,
Mhm.
go on each side of the grapevines if you didn't want to fill in the whole thing at once,
Mhm.
because that kind of screens it a little bit too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
If we were to, how much longer do we have this fall to plant trees and things there?
I like to stop like Thanksgiving.
Okay.
That's the end of planting, I consider. Or if we get a colder winter earlier, early November. But usually you get frost in October, but trees and shrubs can still be planted. It's just perennials you can't plant after that first frost. But later on, you can plant all the way to, I think, Thanksgiving. And much after that, the ground is getting harder and it's more difficult. They don't take as well, their root establishment is low, and you have less chance of survivability. So for trees and shrubs, we still have a little bit of a window. Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
again, apologize for the interruption, but
Yeah,
just wanted
no
to
problem.
get that
No
out.
problem at all. All right, so what else do we have here? The playground committee. Was that?
We're only on the first bullet, so now playground.
Yeah, the playground committee. Playground committee. We have yet to begin to discuss this topic, but it's of great interest to us, and we hope to be able to direct our attention to it soon. Advertising for memorial and park benches, Adirondack chairs, picnic tables, we were talking about, and adding these donations to our rec fund. This is in progress as the committee is planning to have a meeting just next weekend, actually, to discuss this topic more fully. And we hope to advertise the need for donations on our website for all these site furnishings that we discussed, and also as a way to match our current $5,000 match that has been offered, but to match by November, I believe it is, as a way to achieve that goal. But we do hope to add the seating to.
There's $6,000.
Oh, six. So we have a $1,000 match.
We have $6,000.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. This last one, finalize and seek neighbor approval. We really already did a survey. We know now it's not technically officially required, but we have done a survey initially of the neighbors that was conducted in 2019. There's no specific planting plan put forth, except that we were prescribing a general agricultural hedgerow in certain areas and a more ornamental hedgerow in other areas. One is the Miller residence would be more ornamental with flowering trees and shrubs versus just functional trees and shrubs. So, and then, okay, so that was planning. This is maintenance. These are some of the maintenance priorities. First off was planting new trees and shrubs at Hetling, the Arboretum and Claremont Park perimeters. We did do this in the spring. Like I said, we planted 33 trees and shrubs, but tonight I actually wanted to hear from the board if there was actually available funding for plantings this fall. Because I understand that there's probably some unexpected budget limitations this year due to the pandemic, and we don't know how much to plant for this fall at this point. If we should do bulbs, if we should do more trees and shrubs. We were able to do it safely in the spring. I'm sure we can do it safely again with volunteers in the fall. Or if we should spend our time focusing on fundraising, we just have a small crew and we only meet once a month, so we would like your guidance on where to put our energy.
We've got some money that we could spend on bulbs and shrubs, especially on the Miller line, I think, right?
I mean, there's money available. We have, obviously the donations are available.
Yes, yeah.
That's not part of the budget, so I mean, that's not gonna
Okay.
affect anything. So that is available, so it's a matter of coming up with a budget, how much we wanna spend.
Okay.
So we can talk about that, it's flexible.
Okay, so after all this, after listening to this, tell me, we'll talk at the end, like where we should put all our focus, and I'll show you at the end where I'm thinking we should put our focus. We checked on the plantings. We've been not only checking on this year's plantings, but we have taken care of all of last year's plantings as well. All of our volunteer hours have been put in, and thanks to the volunteers, we have now 100% survival rate of all the plants we put in. Yeah, thank you guys.
It's no small task.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
It
It's
doesn't
really
come
not.
from-
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in a property that I only see, once a week or if that, so, and other people drive by. So it's nice to be able to have that kind of success with a volunteer group. Establish a new stockpile area in the maintenance facility and moves current stockpiles from Hetling over to potentially the maintenance building here. And then restoring some areas. That's in progress, I believe. We don't quite know, we haven't quite heard back from you all with your latest updates and developments on this, so we're not sure if that's in a standstill or if that's still going to be happening. I think we saw some of the piles move over, but I know more material has been added to the existing piles by the stream, so we wanted to hear from you where you're at with that. For us, it's an important view shed from when you're coming into the park, to not have that view disturbed by these utilitarian stockpiles, and if we could find and agree upon a stockpile location, that would be to everyone's benefit using the park. So that was something that we know is in progress. We just wanted to hear from you where you're at with that. Okay, and then this was something that I know was only mentioned in the plan. We haven't specifically made a big point of it this year, but allowing the area east of the Little League field and the Veterans Monument Knoll to go to meadow. Currently, I'm sure it's still being mowed like it was in previous years. This area, in my mind, only needs to have a mowed path through it. We really have only lawn happening on most of the rest of the area and not much else going on there, so the maintenance could be reduced in this area.
Don't you think that would get kind of messy, especially the part east of the, on this side, but you're on the road side, and that's where people see it. I think that should be kept mowed.
Can you go to the map?
I'm
so we
actually
can see
talking
where
about a
you're
different
going?
area.
Go to the
Yeah.
map so we can see where you're being, because I'm not sure where.
So I'm talking about
That right here.
this area here. It's wet here with the vernal pool. So as you walk here in spring, it can be kind of squishy, but all in here is really it's not utilized.
I think that's happened perhaps already.
Did they stop mowing for a little bit?
They did. Yeah.
I did not see that last time I was there, but maybe they just skipped us a couple of moments recently. That's
I
great.
think that there is part of that is that it's presently on there.
Okay, that would be great. If this becomes a space for something in the future, we can always mow it.
Yeah, I personally don't see any reason why we need to continue to be mowed, so.
Yeah, I mean, if these neighbors have an issue with it, then I can understand, but it's really, in my mind, I think of it like this area. It's not being utilized, and I think your maintenance could be reduced. You could save man hours there.
Yeah,
And
and
it
just
does,
do like once a year brush up.
Yeah,
Yes.
brushing on it.
Yeah,
and it helps define where the park is also.
yeah, and I think you would, and we have neighbors
Very
here,
clear.
so it would keep people on the path. When I say mow a path, I mean a wide path,
Right.
not like a little narrow that might get ticks or anything, but a nice wide path. And it helps direct people, because I think once you get here, you don't know where to go. I think if we had a mowed path through here, it would more easily direct people, we want to go over, to Claremont, so, or if you're coming here, you want to go this way to Headling, so.
Yeah, maybe I'm just reading this wrong. It said, east of the Veterans Monument Knoll, which would be going out to Route 9. That's the area I was more concerned about keeping
Yeah.
that mowed.
It's east of the
Oh,
park,
and-
but not.
oh,
the
yes.
middle.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Right in here?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was our original, thinking to do, less mowing there, but I think that we changed that thinking, to tell you the truth. Because I think it's gonna be a lawn and with trees at this point,
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
Now, the other part I'm not so concerned about.
Right. Okay. Alright. Okay, so the next one, here's a little bit more maintenance continued. Again, I don't think we have not really started any of this, but I do think it's still important. This was on our list for this year. Start mowing under the apple trees. So currently the apples, are in very poor condition. And I think they're such a critical piece of our heritage that it would be great to start to not only mow underneath them, but give them some rejuvenation pruning. A lot of them may be past. They may need to just be cut all the way down. But I'd like to know that and see if we can get an orchardist in here to properly prune them and see which ones have to be cut all the way down, and then we can start replanting some apples in there. Of course, we're gonna have to do deer protection at that point because deer love them, but if we want to be committed to having some, historic or heritage apples, which were historic to the site, then we wanna look at that site. by ignoring this area, we are just letting them get worse and worse each year. So by simply bringing in orchardists to do some pruning on the few that we have there, we can start, because they can only do a certain amount of pruning each year. It's going to take them probably up to 5 years to really get them in bounds, because you have to do a certain amount each year, that then we at least are starting on that project. The picture on the right is what it ideally could look like if we start having picnic tables over there.
Amy, I don't want to interrupt, it's actually a general question.
Yeah.
Do we know what kind of apple trees
Someone
there
asked me
are?
that before. I have
No.
no idea. I should go out there. Do they have apples? Did you have one?
There's a bunch of different kinds back there. so-
Oh, okay.
Some are not bad. I mean,
Good. We should bring some in or do some. Who knows? I'll bring some to.
I was just
I don't know,
curious
she had
when you were
that
talking about,
Yeah,
going
what
back
are
to the
they?
heritage,
It
what's
was-
it,
It
what are
was
Yeah.
they?
very
Yeah.
crisp. It
Really?
was really hard crisp. I didn't really
Apple crisp.
Now I want you to tell me which tree you got it from and run back
Well,
and see
maybe
if
we
it's
should get a
available.
couple. I'll ask Leah. She grows all those heritage apples. She'll probably know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll have to ask her. I'll write that down.
it was just more curiosity.
No, someone's asked me that before. I don't know, because every time I've seen them, they haven't been in an apple, and it's very hard to tell from the picture on the left. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Most of them are not doing that
Who,
well.
who are you
Yeah.
asking about it?
Doug and Talia Taylor at Montgomery Place Orchards.
Okay.
They grow 70 different varieties of heritage
Yeah.
apples, so I think they would know.
If anyone knows.
If anyone knows, they would know.
I mean, I guess the first question is, are those trees, too far gone to be salvaged by pruning even over 5 years?
I think some are. Some are.
Some of them.
And that might be the first question to
Yes,
ask.
that is the first question. Absolutely. But if we have some apples on the trees right now, then we should see what they are and try to see if we can buy those still. Some of them might be so old that you can't buy them anymore, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're the regular generic. I don't know what Headland grew. So
Doing a real formal pruning, like you're trying to get production out of it, might be more expensive than
I
is
know.
necessary, so.
I think I just want to make it safe. Yeah.
Right, I mean, just some thinning out the crown and blocking it back a little bit is probably.
And the alternative is if we don't want to worry about deer, and these trees are not salvageable or too many of them, we could do a mock apple orchard and plant crab apples in maybe the same vein as the and just kind of do our interpretation at this area to talk about the apples that used to be grown here, and this mock apple orchard. This is a mock apple orchard or a crab apple orchard, so deer are not going to harm the crab apples. So, and that's what we planted at the front of the entrance of Helling as well, crab apples. Okay. So spreading topsoil on the bare areas of the monarch meadow in Helling, that's just something to help with production of more biodiversity because the soil was scalped in that area, and it's going to take a while for plants to start to grow on top of rock. So that's why any extra soil the town has, or it doesn't even have to be good soil, just any fill soil or topsoil would be beneficial to that area.
I wonder if that, some of those piles that what they pick up on the side of the road, that would be, for that kind of stuff.
Depends if it's still topsoil or not, yeah, I don't know.
It should still be somewhat of topsoil.
Well, there's a couple piles out there that are
Yeah,
basically, it's probably kind of sandy.
yeah, I think that's okay.
Because
That'll
what
grow
it is, it's
wildflowers.
the sand that washes off and then they clean up the sides of the road and you get some topsoil in with that. And that's
Mhm.
what, one of those piles out there are.
Yeah, might have salt in it, but I'll have to look at it, yeah. And then,
And
Last was
when you talk about the monarch meadow, we should probably get some, what they call butterfly bush. There's another name for it, I've got it
the
written down
butterfly
somewhere.
weed probably, yeah, we
No, it's like the
we
one that's
absolutely need
by the
butterfly.
Rhinebeck Bank down in Red Hook.
Right, so the bush is not gonna be appropriate for that meadow, because it needs to be cut down once a year, and if we cut that down at the wrong time, it won't come back.
And that's not legal.
Right, so if we do a cutting back of that, you can only cut that back during the spring. And if we cut the meadow at the wrong time, we will kill every one. So we need like butterfly weed, we need maybe monarda, we need maybe more of the black-eyed Susan, we need, some other milkweeds that, there's many different kinds
Yeah.
that would attract butterflies, not just for food, but for habitat and
I
nectar.
mean, I've seen those bushes in front of the Rhinebeck Bank, it's literally covered
Yes.
with monarch
We
butterflies.
should have that in the children's playground garden. Kids would love those.
And Amy, what you're suggesting is low maintenance too.
Yes, we don't want too many plants that we have to fuss with for pruning.
That's the whole
Yeah.
purpose of this.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the things that you mentioned early on, Ray.
Absolutely.
It's called low maintenance. So you don't have to have all these volunteers, we don't have to put pressure on the people who work here,
Mhm.
and that's what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
And the whole committee discusses this all the time.
Mhm.
It's not gonna work, you know?
Right. But I do think that plant will work in a designated garden area. Just in the meadow itself, it's meant for gardens. It's not a meadow plant per se.
I did see a monarch in the meadow.
Oh, good.
Just to add.
That's great. Good thing we have that one monarch.
I know where to go.
Okay, that's good. Last thing was overflow, defining our overflow parking limits at Het Lane, but it's also defining the whole park, because it's hard to know when you're leaving the park and going into someone else's property. And then I know we have probably limited sports being played right now, but, so maybe the parking issue is not as big as it was last year, but, just defining where that should start and where it should stop, and how far into Jen's property it should go, and how far into the soccer field it should go. So just trying to give the overflow parking clear delineation. Something we also have not discussed at all yet this
So
year.
do you
but
wanna do
we-
that with?
That was a
with
priority.
with shrubbery?
We can do it with shrubbery. Yes, yes, we just need some more plantings, yeah.
You're talking about the whole, where the overflow parking was? in
Yes,
the
let's,
front?
yes,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely.
I mean, I know that in the mowing, they've kind of let some of that on the borderline just kind of grow up. So, and I'm not sure exactly where the line is, I'm not sure, so that we can determine it.
Well, that's what we want to figure out,
Well,
I think.
the town's property goes at least to the bottom of the slope.
Yeah.
Cars
Yeah,
aren't,
you can see the
cars aren't parking out.
cement pillars at either end that mark the line.
They're not parking at the bottom of the slope, so I mean, I know they're not going on there.
Right, they're not going
the
to go
neighbor's
down that
property,
far, right.
But we do
Right.
have a natural barrier of overgrowth that we haven't cut, so there is something there at this point, but
Right.
yeah, I
Right.
see what you're saying.
I just wanted to formally think about it, so we're nice to our neighbors, and then also for people, arriving, if we do get a lot of sports spectators in the future, they know where to go. That's all. Okay, now safety. This was in no particular order, I guess, but safety was basically, thank you very much for resetting those rubber tiles at the swings. I see that's in progress. I don't know how far along you got with it, because I saw some were done and some were not, but I
Well,
definitely.
the worst ones were done.
The worst ones, okay. There's still
Okay,
some that are
there's still a
tripping
couple
hazards.
more,
Okay.
and I don't know, Ray, did you get a hold of that guy again?
I haven't followed up with them on getting the rest of the material now.
Because we need to get some more pieces. We've got new tiles and we can reuse some of the ones that are pulled out, but there's corner pieces under them that hold them together,
Mhm.
and they didn't leave us very many of those. And I know I had talked to them on the phone, and Ray had communicated with email, and they were supposed to get us some more of those,
Mhm.
and then, we'll
Okay.
just go from there.
Yep, no, that's good to know. All right. What else? Install a split rail fence on either side of the gravel service road at stream and buffer. And then I also wanted to just talk about the entrance too, because I know.
I'm not
our
sure
grant-
exactly where you're talking about with that one.
Okay.
Across the culvert.
Yeah. Right here. So where people, see the stream is here. In winter, this is more of an issue than now, but it feels like in winter you could just fall off the edge. With the vegetation up, it's less so, but in winter it feels like if you're not walking straight on this and you turn around or back up, you could fall off maybe, 3 or 4 feet.
Okay.
So that's why I just wanted something there.
So you're talking about 15 or 20 feet of split rail fence on either side of
I laid it out, it's just 2 sections of split rail fence.
Yeah, so it's not,
So it's
it's
about-
not nearly 15 or 20, it's less than that, right?
Yeah, which each section,
Oh,
each
10
section's
10
like
foot.
8 or 10 feet, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
It's like an 8 foot.
2 8 points.
Yeah.
We could put that on our list.
It's just 4 sections of fencing,
Yeah.
total, 2 on each side.
Yeah, that one we could put on our list with the picnic tables and
Great,
things I mentioned.
Great,
before.
it was flagged a while ago, I flagged it a while ago. And then the fencing at the entrance, we knew it was part of a grant that we
Right.
should do. Is
It was-
the
it
town
was-
interested in doing that? What, should we ask for an extension to that grant?
Well,
I
did-
thought it would be done by now.
Right.
Because we're
Okay.
waiting for the parking lot, we also put up, they were gonna do it at the same time. They
Okay.
haven't got that in yet, that should be happening anytime next week or two. So they'll do that
Oh,
at the
okay,
same
oh,
time.
good, okay.
Okay, so I'm just gonna be quiet about that.
Yeah,
one.
just let them,
I have
let
to
them
hear
think
it
about
for
that for a few minutes, yeah.
Okay.
It should be done shortly.
Shortly, okay.
That's on the
And then
list.
we'll just take a picture and send it to them.
Yep,
Yes,
exactly,
All
our
right.
date.
That sounds good. All right, that sounds good.
This says and boulders, were there boulders gonna be somewhere? We don't need boulders.
No, that was just, if we didn't do a guardrail, we could do
Okay.
boulders.
Good.
That was
Yeah.
and or. Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be in
So we
boulders,
just
sorry.
cross out those.
Guardrail, is that something that you all were doing at Claremont? That guardrail, because you did bumpers here at Hetling, but
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
this is gonna be the wood
that's what you're, that was the other thing that you were talking about?
6x6s with a, yeah, 2 by,
Perfect.
Well,
Okay.
we've awarded a contract for that, and I thought they would have been in there.
should have been started by now, but I guess apparently, man, the scheduled conference.
Yeah, it's similar to what you've got in the picture, right, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the middle picture.
Good.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, great. Okay, infrastructure. So this is number 9, we're almost done. So prioritizing and initiating trail building. And I wrote on here, as is in the plan, starting with the ADA paths, because we have a lot of paths that are not ADA, but seeking estimates and funding, and this is in progress. Again, mentioned the Veterans Monument Path is underway, and you can see, well, you can't really see it, it's too small. The progress is on the left, that they,
And that one, the slope should be ADA compliant.
really? Okay,
'Cause, I
great.
mean, I stood out there with a small hand level and, you know, at my eye level, it's just a little over 5 feet. And I'm almost at the top, when I get the level pointing out there, it's almost at the top of the hill.
Yeah,
So if you say 6 to 7 feet at most, and we've got about 120 feet of length,
length.
so that will be,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's very close. I think you're right on that.
Yeah.
I think it is very close to being ADA. It's just the,
Gotta watch out.
we're concerned, I'll tell you, in the park committee, we're concerned about the layout of it, and we're concerned, as I talked to you already about, the material chosen. We certainly don't want to start the look of asphalt in the park if it's not necessary.
the asphalt will be covered
that's just the base.
with that's instead of bank run gravel. 'Cause
Okay,
that's much more stable, and it will, you know, it will stay and pack in much better.
okay.
And there'll be topsoil over the edges and stone dust and whatever.
You're gonna put
for
stone dust
cover.
on top of that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so, so that's good to know. We were not aware of what your process was gonna be. We are worried,
You know, originally Jimmy had said he was gonna put bank run gravel,
yeah,
but then, the first I knew that he was using the other material was when I
Uh-huh.
saw it there, and I.
he's
talked to him about it.
recycling it. He's
But-
reusing what he
and-
had, I understand.
You know, it's basically, it packs much better and will not wash away like
Right.
gravel will.
Mm-hmm,
And it's also, I mean, some people may get worried and say, well, what kind of material? It's the same material that you drive on or walk on, people walk on every day.
mm-hmm.
You know, it's just
Well, when it's
broken up.
loose, it's not the same as
Right.
asphalt that's been laid out when it's hot.
Well, that's what it is. It's asphalt that was laid out and it's millings
But
when they're
now
taken out.
it's gravelly because it's all chopped up, right? So
Yeah.
it's actually loose now. It's different.
Well,
than
it's not
asphalt.
real loose because it packs in real tight. Okay, and it will be covered.
They must be.
Covered,
they
that
can
makes
put
a
a roller
difference.
on it, I guess. Can we put a roller on
What?
it to compact
Yeah,
it?
it'll
They can
come
put a
back
Oh,
with
yeah.
a roller, and it'll
Yeah.
be solid base.
Yeah.
And it was recycled and it was free.
Free, yeah, got it. I got it.
We're all about
We were
saving some
concerned-
dollars when we can.
I know. We were concerned about the toxicity in it and leaching, and the straight path, straight up and down on the hill. So we, that's one of the reasons, the plan mentions a stabilizer in any stone dust path, because stabilizer will actually act like a glue and hold it in place. But you have to mix that in with the aggregate at the time of installation. So, you may see gullying happen when you have a straight up and down path. I mean, I see it all the time. So it's just a maintenance thing, and it was an aesthetic thing. So hopefully, our hope is that it's going in and it'll turn out looking great and it'll be maintenance free. Our recommendation was different than what's going in. So that's why one of the main things I said earlier was that we would work together on trying to come up with a more of a compromise in the future. I know this is a special case, but we wanted to get this one in soon. And there won't be many more like this. I think most of our trails will be mowed paths, but we do hope to have a few other harder paths in the park for ADA. So that's the main goal right there. We're just trying to look out for aesthetics and maintenance along the way. What else do we have? Design of the road signs. Yeah, thank you. The design of the road signs. We did recently install, or the maintenance department did recently install our rule sign, which we were consulted on. You see it in this photo. We'd like to consider them, the committee would like to consider these signs next to the porta potty temporary, because again, this is right in our view shed of the mountains as people
It's not in the
enter.
view shed of the mountains, because you can't see the mountains from they're higher up. The vegetation at the other side
They're right in the middle of it.
blocks that. I mean, that's a bogus.
They're not blocking the mountains. It's the whole, when it's in the view shed, that means the whole area that you look at as when you look at the mountains. We prefer the porta potty not be there as well. To tell you the truth. Or the orange cone, or any.
Potty and these two signs kind of right blocking this sort of vista that you have.
Right. We didn't really want anything in that location. We wanted the signs to be at the other end of the parking lot. I understand why you wanted them. I do understand why, because you think you're going to capture people there. But we also are trying to look out for the aesthetics of the park. And having two signs just to me indicates that maybe we'll need more in the future, and hence the kiosk that's right next to that photo is that kiosk was supposed to facilitate all the signs in one location. It's expensive. It's something that a local builder could build for less, but this was supposed to be made out of composite material that would last forever and be maintenance free, and be in one location in a different location that would not block. So it wouldn't be like a literal wall, but it would be off to the side, and people would have to walk to it if they're going to read it. They wouldn't just encounter it. But it would hold the map, it would hold brochures, it would hold any new postings or announcements. And if you change your mind about something or want to add a rule later, you can do that because it's modular. You can take out one sign and put in a new sign. These that we just posted are permanent. We can't make any changes to them. I know they were very inexpensive, so that's a good feature.
Well, I mean, I
But-
feel honestly, in all, like changing out those composite pieces is probably about as expensive as printing a new one of those signs, because they were very inexpensive. to
Uh-huh.
do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
I have to say that the signs, based on the photograph and the way it was taken, they're very clearly visible. But when I came to the park a couple of weeks ago, there were like 3 or 4 cars parked, and they park in those first parking
Oh,
spaces
uh-huh.
where I didn't even notice the signs being there. All I saw were the cars.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So, I mean, I know what you're saying when you look at that photo, because you've got a lot of room on the right-hand side, so the signs are very prominent. But when you put a row of cars there, you don't even see the signs. Seriously.
Oh, well, that's not what we want to have happen either.
That's the view, or you're implying that that's not a good spot because you don't see the signs?
No, what I'm implying is that if you don't like the look of the sign, you're not going to like the look of any car parked in the parking lot. because the cars, once they're there, I mean, the idea is to attract people, and they come and they park the cars.
Well, that's
Their
what the
cars
trees,
will, they're essentially the same height, or maybe even taller than the sign themselves.
well, the cars are definitely ugly, but that's what the
Yeah,
arboretum's
yeah,
gonna do.
exactly, that's my
You know, the
point.
arboretum hopefully will hide that from view. We want people to see the signs. We don't
Yeah.
want them to not see the signs.
Right.
Once
yeah,
you take
I'm
2
just-
steps off the parking lot, you don't see the signs anymore because you're passing.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting that you have an empty parking lot, so everything is very low to the
Yes,
ground and very,
yes.
so they are
They
more
stand
common.
out. I understand.
As soon as you
I
start putting
understand.
cars there,
Now that the signs are up, the one thing that I think is that they should have been bigger, more like the size of the sign over by the swings. And particularly the littlest one, I think eventually we may want some other things on there also.
Yeah.
And you probably won't agree with me, but I think that one where it says open sunrise to sunset should be at least halfway down towards Route 9 on the right-hand side as you come in.
Oh,
And it should be
your
bigger.
stage sign thing that you
Yeah.
have.
Now, the one with the rules, I think Ray had picked that spot out, I think that was a good spot. Now, but the one that says that it's open from sunrise to sunset, and then a couple of things along with it, that should be a bigger sign, and it should be where you'd see it as you drive in. But that, and I think there's probably some other things that eventually need to go on this, I wouldn't, try to change that immediately, I'd wait and see what.
I know it probably will not be there much longer because we're coming to the end of the year, but like before we have porta potty delivered next year, I think we can try and find a better spot for it
If
then.
the committee wants to give us some suggestions,
Absolutely.
absolutely. The only thing you have to keep in mind is a large truck has to back up to it, so it has to be accessible.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
the other side of the parking lot.
I think there's plenty, don't you think
That's
there's plenty
fine.
of room for the porta potty truck to deliver it? I mean, you
Well, they have to
come
come
in,
monthly to
I
clean
brought
it.
guests there, we were all hysterical, looking at the signs, and there's the porta potty. People in Claremont Park, they don't have that. You go into the park, there's that one little kiosk all the way over there, park your car, you see the beautiful view, unobstructed, and guess what, there's a kiosk there, what's going on? But no porta potty, they have a little house over there.
Where's this?
Over there.
Where?
And you have to look.
Where's
I
this?
have to go to the ladies' room, men's room. And you're continuing on with this. Come on. Give us a break. We all laughed. I brought guests over there. I said, what do you notice? I noticed a porta potty. I said, well, welcome to Claremont Park. And then I said, do you know how many volunteers got onto these trees? We're schlepping the hoses and the heat. And the guy I hired, he told me to get lost, Phyllis, because he didn't want to do it.
Oh, no.
I mean, have a little humanity here. Come on, have some humanity. And we're very nice about it, we're being very polite. I don't go into a park and look at a sign, and I can't see the sign, there's a porta potty there.
Can I
Yes,
add
we're
something,
hysterical
Phyllis?
Porta potty.
Can I add something, Phyllis, why the porta potty is where it is? That is not the usual place. If you know the park, it was over further toward the trees, but remember, you're putting in a pathway from the Veterans Monument.
Oh, so construction.
I think when they put that in, and it's only gonna be there for a short while, anyway, where it is, but when they put it down, it was because they didn't wanna be in the way of the trucks putting in the pathway to the Veterans Monument. So I believe if you remember last year, it was further back.
Well, it wasn't
Toward the
very nice.
trees.
It looked like it was almost exactly the same spot from my side anyway.
No.
Originally, it was supposed to be over there, but it was too wet last year, so we had to put it here where it is now, and that's where it ended up
You know,
again,
this
because we
is
are
like
doing
a
it.
Saturday Night Live program. And you're telling me where it was last year and before and it was very wet. Can we change the subject?
They could always
So
go
we would be
beyond
happy
the
to.
trees.
that's the
Take
idea
some
of being a
suggestions.
porta,
We would make,
portable.
we would be happy.
And there isn't one,
Well,
Phyllis, there isn't one over at the other park, simply because nobody's using it right now. It would be a waste of money to have one over there.
well, that was the
That's
other
why.
thing is that it's in COVID times, do you want a porta potty? Is
We
it
held
being
off all
serviced?
summer because of that, now that
Uh-huh.
people are going using the park a little bit, we figured, well,
Yeah.
Maybe
No,
have it.
let's have it for
So
the
it's just
fall.
something to
Have a
consider,
bathroom.
is it being cleaned
Yeah.
enough?
be there for a few months, yeah.
Anyhow, we did, in here, we also suggested screening around it. If it's a necessary evil, just put some attractive screening. There's one at Poets Walk. You don't even know there's a porta potty behind it. It's
And
very
that would be
attractive.
simple to do if we pick a permanent location for it and then, like I said, screen it.
It's the same
Absolutely.
at the Red
Absolutely.
Hook Soccer Club, they put it right behind the shed.
Yeah, yep,
So
yep,
it's
near
up
another
against the
building.
shed, but
Makes
it's
sense,
not
yes.
out in the
Temporary.
middle of, yeah.
Thing
Right,
now.
right, this is just out in the wide open, okay, we talked enough.
It's gonna be in the middle of
Well,
wherever
yeah,
it
that-
goes, so.
Alright, so I think we, alright, so I think this is one of the last ones.
Do you wanna just talk about benches, and other
okay.
site furnishings?
Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit, that's why I thought I'd skip it, but sure. The site furnishings, you know, like I said, we were going to try to come up with a website where people can donate, but we would like more seating, to encourage more seating in the park. We do need benches, but we're open to other furnishings that we're gonna have a meeting about this coming weekend to talk exactly about what style we want, so everything kind of matches. This was one option that had come about. It's the same one I think is in town of Red Hook. It's very simple, durable.
And you don't have to weed whack under it.
Right. Yes, and it's ADA. It's an ADA bench because people in wheelchairs can just slide onto it if they want.
So they can maybe.
There's no handrails
Do
It's
surveys
based
and
on the
come back
height
to us with
being
a
88.
price.
And height too, and that there's no armrests.
Okay.
The armrests make it non-ADA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the handrail is not ADA?
Right. Anything with the armrests.
I mean, as
yeah.
someone who's married to a woman that has a lot of trouble getting up, she wants to sit where there's handrails that she
Yeah.
can put her hands
I
on
think
to
it's
get
so
up.
they can slide.
From a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Well, she's walking, but not very well, and has trouble getting up. But with the handrails, that helps her to get up.
I'll show you the company that makes these.
Yeah, okay.
Makes sense, actually, yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
I understand what you're saying too. Did you, you say
Maybe one of
anything
each.
That's it, just
Okay.
that.
Okay.
A recommendation.
there.
Yes,
Huh?
yes, yep.
Yeah.
All right, so these are numbers, I hope I got them pretty right. Our current park fund balance is around 31,000. Donations to the park since 2013, 51,000. Total expenditures to the park since 2014, 20,000. And our challenge goal match by November 2020, 5,000, 6,000. And our projected expenses for 2021. This number could be through the roof if you want it to be. I chose a nice 18.5 because I didn't talk about, you know, installing a playground, but those are on our 2021 list. But you know, 2020 has definitely thrown a wrench in the game, and this number came from, I'll tell you where I got it from. Includes apple orchard pruning, new plantings at Hetley and Claremont Parks, entrance signs and kiosks, and site furnishings. So that's where I got that number. But if additional funds were made available for 2021, our priorities could be trail building, playground design, building a porta potty screening structure, and installing what I think would be very useful, a basketball court at Claremont. So the fencing around it. So right now, you shoot a hoop and the ball goes into the woods. So there's nothing to stop the basketballs now, or they go into someone's car, or you know. So just this background screen fencing would be, I think, incredibly useful. We could also paint on the asphalt that's there, so it's multi-purpose. Right now, if you didn't bring your basketball, you're not using that court at all because there's nothing else to do there. So it's just something that we could make the basketball area more user-friendly and to all ages.
Can I ask a question? So when you say plantings is included in that, that's like all of the plantings that we expect to do total?
Yeah, because we did like 3 or 5 this spring, and we could do another 3 or 5 next year.
So that's
yeah.
all the perimeter?
Oh, not all the.
You mean
perimeter.
$3,000 to $5,000 worth?
Yeah, we're $3,000 to $5,000 worth of plantings next year. That's what I was.
So just the
I was
next
being
year.
very conservative.
Not everything?
Not everything. It's going to take us years to plant the park.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought.
we can't
You
do it
said
all.
Plus the
the
timing it
plantings
takes to
and
plant it all.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
yeah, and we don't want all that maintenance,
guys know.
right?
And the time
Right,
takes
so
to
it's
water
gonna-
once it's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want all that maintenance at once anyway.
Okay.
So no, it's just continual at
Right.
a regular
You said
pace.
all, you just meant all of 21.
Oh, yes,
Not
yes,
small.
no, right, just doing more plantings.
I think it's gonna cost more than that too, in the long run.
It absolutely can. Well, I only did a portion of 2020 expenses, like I said, or 2021 expenses, because, like I said, we could have been over $100,000 for 2021, but I didn't want to put that number out there.
The only
So-
difference in the numbers is the park fund balance 31,000, but there's another $10,000 that we have in our budget that we're spending this year that comes out of that. So
So it's 20.
it's 21,000.
Yeah.
It'll be 21,000 left after we spend the 10,000 this year, which is what we're doing.
Oh, because
park
we
and
spent the
rails.
10. Oh, because we
Yeah,
spent.
we're gonna spend that 10 this year on the rails, the bumpers, and whatever else.
Oh,
we
because we're
can.
spending it now.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
in this year's budget.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, got it. All right, so it's really more like 21. Okay, good.
But
I didn't
they're
have- these
presumably-
are only as of May, so.
But presumably there will be an additional 10 added
Oh.
by the end of this year.
Okay.
There could be, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then whatever fundraising we do get from fundraising or other grants.
Right, good, okay. That's great, okay. All right, so that is pretty much it, except we do have next steps, and this basically tells you, we would like your permission to proceed with some of these priorities that we talked about tonight. These are the top priorities in our minds. One is forming this friends group, which really does not cost any money. It's just a vehicle that we can write more grants with, calling ourselves a friends group, and organizing ourselves. Creating a trails priority plan instead of a committee, figuring out what trails we actually want to do next, and trying to accomplish that. Advertising for the park benches, and helping with this fundraising that we really need to get off the ground pronto. And then we're very interested in relocating those stockpiles. So those are our priorities for the rest of this year. And then, there's more that leads into 2021, but that's for this year. And that's pretty much, it. It was supposed to be a lot shorter. I'm glad you guys are interested.
Well, we had a lot of questions, and
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of information, so
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, as far as
Oh,
the next steps, as I mentioned
Mhm.
earlier, I'd like to see, a couple of, if you want to pick out a couple of tables, right, and we can pass that tonight to do that.
Got a couple of tables.
I'd like
Picnic
us,
tables.
to wait.
Oh,
One-
picnic.
One
Get
up on top
a
of the
budget.
hill, and one for in between there's a couple of trees down at the base of the hill, just to the east of where the path is going. And I've seen people in there with picnics on the ground.
Oh,
Okay, in fact, the one day there were a few adults and a whole bunch of kids just sitting around there.
Right.
And I think even
Near
if
the
they're still in
cemetery, or-
What?
near the cemetery?
Just to the west of where the path is going up the hill, there's a
facing
couple of
north?
large trees
The
there.
north side of the hill.
Okay.
Yes. The north side of the hill, the northwest, almost to
We'll
the
talk about
northwest corner of the hill.
Okay.
So
Okay,
one
noted.
in there and one up on the top of it. And I did talk to Jimmy, when you and I looked at that, we talked about that'd be good.
Yes.
He said he
Yeah,
can level
I
that
agree.
out and put a
I do agree. I think that is a
table
good
up
spot.
there. And I think that's something we can agree on and just go ahead and get that done.
Well, we need to think about a kind of unified plan on what the kinds of furnishings are gonna be, so that everything kind of matches. We don't wanna have just random one style here and random one style there, so.
Well, that gives
that's
a
something we're
little more
gonna talk
variety, because people can pick out, go to which whatever they like best.
Well,
I think
we're
that-
having that meeting on Sunday, so we
Yeah.
can get an answer on that
Yes,
pretty quick.
yeah, we're gonna have a meeting on Sunday about it. So we're gonna talk about not just picnic tables, but benches and chairs and anything else we wanna add to the park.
So
Seating.
the committee is interested, particularly in seating
Yeah,
and benches.
Yeah.
So perhaps the idea is to match the pledge donation with specific funds for benches, correct?
that'd be great.
One question I have, Amy, is
Mhm.
in installing those benches, and Dawn, I don't know if when we wrote that grant, if we received the full estimate for doing the concrete below the
No,
bench.
that wasn't in there. I did choose, if I remember correctly, I did choose, the benches that would have the concrete and things like that there, so that they didn't need to be mowed under and things like that. But I think I just added on like an extra $100 or something like that because that was gonna be work that the highway guys would do when they.
Is that something that they
They-
would be able to do?
That's what that was my intention, and I thought yes,
Uh-huh.
but.
Is that-
Yeah.
Do we need to check, or did you already check with them?
I don't know that I actually spoke with Jimmy if they could do it or not. I
Okay.
don't think I did, but we could find that out. I don't know how difficult it is, and then Amy also mentioned, a certain kind of, anchor that you
Oh,
could
yeah.
move a chair
Yep.
in order to, it was still anchored to the
Mhm.
ground, but you could move it in order to mow around.
You can pivot. It's called an earth anchor. You know
Yes.
this? Where you just wrap it around the leg or a beam in the bench or the chair, and it's wire cable. You need bolt cutters to cut it, which I'm sure someone could bring over, but if they really wanted it. But it basically prevents people from stealing. So lightweight makes me very nervous because that means anyone could pull up. We want heavy. That's what I think. I think
Yeah.
we want heavy
Well, the
because.
reason I was mentioning lightweight is that they can move it easily to mow.
Well, that's what this earth anchor does, is it pivots. So they can push it with the mower and it just will pivot out of the way and then they can push it back. So then no one can move it. Because let me just tell you, I've had my life around lightweight furniture, and you don't want lightweight in public settings because people will take it. They'll just take it right home.
Yeah.
They have no-
Or you put a
Still
concrete
high
pad
enough
underneath
that
it.
the guys could move it, but it's not, and it's anchored to the ground.
Yes, yes. So if it's lightweight, we have to anchor it, and it just means that there's going to be more possibility for damage if it's lightweight. Depends on material, but we'll come up with some suggestions.
Okay.
All right, I have a bunch of questions, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I can go through them. First thing is the building new trails.
Yes.
Is that something you're gonna solicit an estimate from someone for?
Well, no, I think we need to prioritize a plan of which trails we want to do next,
Okay.
and then work on one trail at a time. So we'd like to present to you like a list of trails that we'd like to do next,
Okay.
and maybe it's just mowing the existing trails differently because some of the time mowing has gotten wider and different. So maybe we just want to prioritize on focusing on doing one thing in this trail, and that's it. But if
It's
we
not really a money thing, right?
it's not really so much money, but if we want to
Okay.
do more ADA trails, then it would become money. But I wouldn't necessarily say let's just get a plan for trails. I think all we need to do is, the engineering is only necessary when we have maybe an elaborate trail. Like there's one out by, if we ever did the vernal pond, if we want to do a deck, and we want to do a trail to that deck, so people can, a viewing deck, look at the vernal pool, and there's some engineering there.
That
How to-
pool is not
that's
something
low
that
on
you
the
want to
list.
be.
It's low,
standing
it's
around
low,
looking
but
at.
there's some engineering there. But I think the paths don't need engineering. I
Huh?
think you can just make a path for the most part,
I
depending on.
think right now it's just a dry hole. I think it's dried up.
Oh, it's dried for the
I'm
summer.
pretty sure it's dried up in order to lack of
Well,
rain.
it's not in the spring.
But,
It's not, it's
I don't
very
know if
different.
that's, again, I've stressed my concern about that before, if that was something important we want to draw attention to and have people go to look at. To me, I personally don't think it's.
It's not that
viewing deck
attractive.
is warranted for that.
People
but-
are gravitate
That's
toward
my
water.
opinion.
They gravitate toward water.
Yeah.
Kids do.
Most of my questions are about money, so I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
through a couple more of
Yeah.
these. The pruning of the trees,
Mhm.
again, is that something you're gonna solicit an estimate to
I think
find
a couple
out? Somebody could at least look at, say, okay, half of them are dead, it'll cost you this much to fix the rest? you
Yes,
know?
we need a couple bids.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
yes.
Before we go ahead with any of that, obviously we want to hear, what that would be.
Absolutely. I
So-
already know some people we can solicit that will do a good job for you.
Okay.
It's just a matter if you want to compare their price to someone else, because there's a number of trees out there, and a lot of them may just be removals. But I'd like some of them to be more, and pruning is more expensive than removals. I'll just let you know that.
Oh, I know,
So,
I know.
yeah.
But at least it
It
gives
takes
us an
more
idea, I
time.
mean, obviously, it's not something we're gonna go out and get 3 bids on, I mean, at least somebody, at least give us an idea. Take a look at it,
Absolutely,
give us an idea.
absolutely. I absolutely think we should do that.
Have no problem with them start mowing over by the field, that's easy. The moving of the stockpile of material, that's
Mhm.
gonna be an issue,
Okay.
only because we're limited on space and where we can put it. I know we had
I
a
know.
slide with a couple of spots, alternative sites, one of them was over by the ball field, which I absolutely do not think is a
No,
necessary spot for it.
yeah, no.
The other spot would be out here by the equipment shed behind the shed on the grassy area.
Yeah.
I spoke to the highway superintendent, and I personally thought that was probably a viable spot for it. But he says he does not think it should go there, he does not want it there. He says, why would we ruin the only grassy spot we have out here if we ever don't want to do a barbecue or something again? He says, why would we put piles out here? He doesn't like it there, he doesn't like the idea of it. So I don't know where else we could come up with an idea of where else to put it, but we
Would
don't
we
have a lot
want a
of footprint.
barbecue in that location?
I mean, we do have a 20-acre park now that we can have a.
Well, the Village Green is held in the past, and they've got the fire pit all set up out there, everything's there.
Yeah. So that's in the
I mean,
past. they've
We,
had
we
barbecue.
used to have a barbecue every August.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember it.
No, I've
It's-
never
it's
been to
been a
them, but I
few years,
know
but-
there's.
but
you
there
know,
was for many, many years.
Yeah,
It
I've
was
worked
every
it.
year in August.
Yeah.
And the barbecue pit was used, and they had tractor pulls with lawn tractors. And,
Mhm.
you know, they do that in the morning, and then it took up that space, and we parked cars out, actually on Ray's property, we used to park a lot of the cars, and it was pretty well used.
Mhm.
Now, we haven't done that for a couple of years, and I'm not sure.
I mean, that's,
There's
obviously this
planning.
year was out of the question. The last couple of years, it's kind of fell through the cracks, and, you know, we haven't had the interest, but it's not saying it won't happen again. And we also
Right.
use that for a lot of parking and stuff. So his idea was, you know, he just doesn't like the idea, he doesn't want to put it over here. I mean, that's his call, he says it's convenient where it is. I mean, I don't know where else we could come up with an idea.
I'm
where to
sure
put
it's
it.
very convenient where it is.
Well-
but
Right.
but the reality is, do you guys know who owns that line of view shrubs? That
That's right.
Ray
Oh,
Tell,
oh,
he just left.
Oh,
I knew
he
we were
just-
gonna talk about it.
okay. I was gonna say, because if that's ours, we should take those down.
Yeah, he just put those in.
Last
He
year.
just planted them.
He
We got
did?
those from somebody else, from
Oh.
Deb's property.
Oh, I noticed a lot of them are done.
Blame her.
But anyway.
Yeah, we're fine.
Well,
Yeah.
they'll be fine.
She donated.
You don't like
He,
that.
he thinks,
No, I'm just
he
thinking
thinks
that
that they
they're
will
deer
come
food.
back in the spring. I'm not so sure, because some of them look pretty dead to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
He needs to sprint it, but anyway, I was gonna say, you know, really, you know, he's trying to say, I don't wanna see your maintenance building. And that to me is a good, if those were ours, I was gonna say, take those out and put it in a real fence and screen off your maintenance building. People don't wanna necessarily have, I would think, have a picnic near it. I mean, our plan is says have a recreation building entirely and have your picnic area with your grill pit or whatever you want, if you wanna have grills, in a different area entirely that's beautiful. And I know we already have a structure. The long-range plan is to maybe move that structure and with your picnic table, so you can have it all together, so people are in a nice area instead of the back of the building near the maintenance, that kind of thing. So it's
Well,
just
the
completely
picnic-
different thinking from what
the
you're used to, I
barbecue area
understand.
was right out beside the community
He used to
building.
set the
We
tent
put a
up
big-
right in the
big
parking
tent
lot.
Yeah.
up, and the tables were in there,
Mhm.
and then the cooking was done in the barbecue pit.
Mhm, mhm.
And there was a couple other things, and you know, you needed a little electricity, you needed access to bathrooms and that kind of thing. That gets very expensive.
So
And that
if
was
we,
why it was convenient here, and it wouldn't be so convenient over there at this point.
Well, the rec building is supposed to have bathrooms and water.
Right.
So
and
we may have to, we
electricity.
may have to revisit
Yeah.
and stockpile
Right.
moving, because he doesn't want it here, it's
Yeah.
really his call, we
Yeah.
can't force him to put it
right,
there.
right.
So, we may have to revisit that,
So
and come
is
up
it
with a
his
better
call?
idea. of where
Right,
to
so
go.
if we leave them where they are, although it's not a desirable location, it seems like a plan to screen that is our next option.
And it has to be accessible
And
for
so
him to
that
get
it's
in and out of there and
accessible
load
too,
stuff
right,
and
right.
trucks and stuff, so I mean, I don't know how you even screen something like
It's
that.
just in the middle of the park.
I mean, if there's a way to get it off to the other side or edge or something, I don't know, but we have to think about it a little bit more, because he's not
It's not moving.
wanting to put it here, and I don't wanna put it on both,
So do I understand that he's just gonna continue to add more to those
Well,
piles,
it's
probably?
not necessarily add it, but he uses it. I mean, as they do a road, they'll take and use some up, but then if they clean up the side road, they'll put some back. So it's a working pile.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be existing, and it will be continually used, but
Yeah.
it's not gonna ever go away, unfortunately.
And it's convenient for him where it is.
Well, it's easy to get to, you know, it's not muddy, you can drive in there with trucks and load it and stuff, so yes, that's why he's saying it is. It's access, basically, so. I don't disagree, I didn't think this was a bad idea over here, but he seems to think otherwise, so I don't know.
Back to the drawing board.
He
So let's
doesn't,
think about
he
I
that.
don't
doesn't
really like
really-
any of the others.
he doesn't really argue with us on, he does an awful lot of
Uh-huh.
stuff for us.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, the money that group saves the town is almost
Sure.
astronomical.
So you guys, I thought it was reversed hierarchy. I thought you told them what to do.
We don't tell the highway superintendent anything, other than his
No,
budget.
he's an elected official,
Okay.
and by law, all the stuff that they do for us, by law, they don't have to do that. By law, they have to take care of the roads.
They don't even have to mow the lawn, the grass, nothing. So that's
Nothing.
why we're so working with them to
Now,
keep us.
we do control their budget. So, and I've seen things in the paper about towns where the town board and the highway department are arguing and they're really at loggerheads. We've never had that here. And basically, at least with the town's, highway superintendent we have now, he's very frugal. Okay, and when he asks for something in the budget, I always advocate, and the others mostly agree with it, to give it to him, because he's frugal, and he gets what, and the amount that he saves us. I mean, the repairs on trucks, some departments would send out to a garage. He does it. He welded a whole back end of a truck that had rusted out. Put new sheet in there and welded the whole thing together. We did buy him a new welder at one point because it made it easier. And he's actually done that for one of Germantown's trucks. They brought it over and he fixed it because Germantown and Livingston and Claremont work cooperatively. That's why we only have to have two people and the superintendent on our highway group, because when we do roads and we need more people, you need flaggers and this and that, Germantown or Livingston comes and helps us. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt they save us tens of thousands of dollars between the mowing repairs and everything else. I mean, that's kind of like why we try to walk gingerly around, asking nicely if there's extra stuff we need done, because we can't tell them to do anything, so.
But we know Jimmy does a great job.
And he does, he
Yeah,
does. He does
and
good
most
stuff.
of the community thinks that he does, and it's been a very good partnership.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so if the stockpile, we could leave it there for now, and it should be discussed. And it is convenient because I understand mud and access and wanting to get into it. It's just a suggestion. But I think what's very interesting is the park committee's been working on how long? A year and a half, 2? And look at all the things that we've done. And also, there was a very nice email, Jen, who just left, I hope she comes back. I've seen people in the park, distancing, sitting there and talking, and using the park.
Yeah.
And someone wrote me an email, I think you all got it, about someone standing by a tree
Okay.
with a violin, and someone else distancing is listening to it. The park has never been used.
Very nice.
It was never a park. This is only 2 years. So, is Jimmy here?
No,
No, he was here.
No, that was legal.
What?
Lee's still
That
there.
was Lee.
Whoever that is, hiding there. But tell Jimmy we appreciate what he's done, and it's been a very good partnership, and we'll continue to do so. But the park is being used, it's like a park, gang,
Yeah.
and the trees are growing. I
And
mean,
the
you know,
weeds
give us
and
a
everything
break,
else. Like my house.
go on.
So we'll have to revisit that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
The other thing was this topsoil in the bare areas.
Yes.
I mean, again, do we have any estimates on that? Or can you provide
That
us,
was,
get an estimate on that? I mean, so we
right.
have a number to look at and say, is it really something we want to do now or
That was
later?
supposed to be ad hoc, kind of like as available.
Because
if
the
we
materials
need-
the highway department gets, leftover stockpile stuff,
They
they
use
don't
for
want
us.
to use because that's what they use to do the roads, so they don't have to
Okay.
buy it, so.
So then we
wanna-
kind of need to buy it.
And we need to be careful about what we're putting
Yes.
on the park.
Property, yeah,
Even
we don't want to have
testing
to,
and everything,
yeah,
yeah, we
right.
don't want just anything.
Okay, so we can absolutely get estimates for that.
Okay.
That's, that,
We
topsoil
made an
stuff.
estimate for this year, I believe, for topsoil. Did we consider that
I
last year?
think it was in there, but it was
It's like $7,000.
Oh, that's garden soil?
Uh-huh,
I don't
something
want to use
soil.
that. I
of
don't-
course.
I think we
yeah,
need lesser quality.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
all
We will be buying some topsoil to go on the sides of the path up to the monument.
Okay.
We'll have to get a little bit, but nothing like what you need back there.
No,
obviously.
no.
Thank you.
Jimmy had given us an estimate for that.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And the other thing, defining the overflow parking limits, again, I almost don't know if that's necessary because, like I said, there's a slope there. Our property goes down to the bottom of the slope is where the natural grasses are growing. I don't really know what else is necessary to keep people from driving. They're not gonna drive off into the field and the fence, you know, I mean, I don't know what you were thinking about to define it. Is there more
Well,
plantings?
it was for parking and it was for the whole park as well. So
Oh.
people don't go, like, I'll tell you that.
So we're talking about border hedges or, you know,
All
some
the
kind of-
borders and the edges. So
Okay.
I think cones, you could just use cones for
That'd be
parking.
pretty.
Was that?
That'd be pretty.
Well, just during the
Well,
event,
yes.
just during the event.
Okay.
But I think, you know, in the back, in the very west corner, there's this, at least there was, this trail that went to someone's backyard.
Yeah,
And I thought it was
saw that.
part of the park.
It was
And I went to his
right
backyard.
down it.
I was like, this isn't the park. So anyway,
Where
just,
was this?
And the back edge.
yeah, I mean, obviously he's
Oh,
using
yeah, I
it.
know what you're
Southwest.
talking
Yeah, southwest corner,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, the
Anyway,
people,
so just
that-
limiting, just
the people
having
that
people
live
know that
there, I
you're
think
leaving
they
park
kind of,
property or something.
kind of use that trail.
What's that?
The people that live there use that
I know
trail.
they do.
They're gonna
But I
make
think,
people in the yard.
I know, well, they're gonna have visitors.
Okay.
It looks like a park.
The tiles, moving on, the tiles are fixing, we're working on that. The split rail, I don't see any issue with putting the two sections on both sides of the,
Okay,
uh,
yeah,
culvert back there. That can probably be done, maybe we'll incorporate it when they do this, just have them put it in.
That would be great.
Mhm.
Installation of guardrails, that's gonna happen, that's, you know, we're waiting for them to come. What else do we have? I guess that was about it. The kiosk was the only other thing, again, I know that's an expensive item, and again, we're gonna need to get prices on that, but
I think that's something that we can fundraise.
I was gonna
for.
say, it almost needs to be like a specific fundraising
It's a good
event
grant
for,
thing, too.
you know,
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
because it's such a
grant,
high,
you're right.
it's a high-end item for, you know, a sign. I think
we
should
just need
probably
two, one
try
in
to
each
get-
park, and we could put every sign on it.
Yeah.
So rather than have all these little ones that don't match, we could just put every sign and it would be,
Well,
it's just much more a flexible design
The
than,
problem with the
permanent.
kiosk being at the end of the parking lot, is people that drive in and use the overflow parking, they don't even notice that it's there. That's why we wanted the signs to be up closer to the entranceway. Okay, because now they may not read the whole thing as they go by it, but at least they know it's there, and they can read the larger print parts of it and say, well, gee, maybe I want to stop sometime and look at the rest of it, or go by slower and look at it. But if it's down at the hill end, you know, at the far end of the parking area,
Mhm.
people going into the overflow park, they're not even gonna stop and, they won't even realize.
well, the
it's there.
overflow is for sports, right? That's people going to sports mostly. And then anyone else parking in the regular lot will see the structure at the end, but,
Now, you guys are having a meeting when? This weekend? Coming up?
Sunday, I think it is.
To talk
13th.
about the.
Site furnishings only. And then we do our other meeting at the end of the month, a
'Cause
regular.
we're having a
That's-
budget meeting.
Yeah, that
Yeah, what
needs
did
to
you,
go with the
did you
budget.
make a date?
Yeah,
The
next week.
16th is next Wednesday.
So, do you need some numbers from us by then?
Well, I'd like to see some numbers on some of these issues. One of them that I feel, and I agree with Bob on that, I feel very strongly because I've been telling these people for 3 years since we started this with screening property, is the miller's property over here. I really want to see us put some money into screening, a solid screen, not a
Alright.
clump.
Yeah,
I think it needs to, and if it needs to be something more, less expensive, I'm not opposed to that because I think it's gonna be right on, we'll put it right on the property line and we'll act as a barrier. So if it is forsythia or whatever is a natural habitat,
Mhm.
it fits the area, I don't care, but
Yeah.
I don't wanna spend $300 a plant when you do $3 a plant, you know what I'm saying?
no, forsythia honestly
Especially
is
'cause
just
the
as
long
much as
run.
any other native plant.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite, it's a couple hundred feet, so,
Yeah, it's a lot of plants.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'd like to
you
see
have-
that.
Honestly, you have to keep in mind who's gonna water that and keep it alive.
Yeah, I don't think we can just say, we're gonna plant
You
this
can't
whole
just say we're gonna do
road,
100
and you know how
feet.
much
Well,
work
if you,
it was
if
when
you
you
plant
planted.
it this time of year, it'll get established with just with natural rain, right?
Fall is great.
Usually
Fall
fall.
is the
Depends.
time to plant. Fall is absolutely the best time to plant.
I mean, if we do a solid row, we could also run soaker hoses
Yeah, one other question.
on a timer.
Right.
I mean, that's something simple that we could hook up, if it's, the clumps
Yeah.
is harder, obviously, but,
Yeah.
that's something we could hook up on a soaker hose, nobody would have to do anything with it. So,
One other question, I do believe that screening should be, but I'm for the good neighbor policy, but it's someone else's private property. Are they gonna chip in? Or we're just gonna do it? I mean, there are other properties that are contiguous to ours, and, you know, this is a legal question. Screening, we have animals and what we're gonna do, you know.
Well-
I agree with you, it should be
Yeah, it's
screened
gonna
off.
be in progress, yeah, it's gonna work
But,
in
you know, I
progress.
mean, you know, maybe we could approach them, maybe
What-
kick
what
in
we-
a couple of
what-
bucks.
No,
No,
what we
because
want
this
to,
could be a problem in the future. And I believe that, you know, we should do our best. You know, but it could be their property, but then some other people are gonna come up, well, we did it for them, so why not do it for me? Then just, you know.
some of the properties, I mean, this property is right next to the park, the
I
house
know,
that
I
people
see,
live
I know
in.
where it is, yes.
There's houses over on County Route 6 that have talked about screening, and they've actually planted willow trees themselves, and they're so far away that it's a different type of thing than this one. And-
Well, I
and
think the other-
particularly the one row, not so much the side row that you've done something with, but the row that Ray's talking about, and there's a grape plants in there, and some of it, I don't think you have to duplicate that, but on either side of the grape plants, and if we make it something that will flower and beautify the plant as people come in and park and see the flowers, some in the spring, some later ones in the fall. That's why I mentioned Rosa Sharon is one that, and I've seen I've seen some that look pretty scrawny as I ride by them, but I've seen some that look pretty well, and you probably can tell why the difference.
Well, those are actually native, so that's a good plan. I did not
Okay.
include that.
And that's a later flowering
It's
plant.
later. Mhm.
So it would be, you know, it will beautify the park itself also,
Yeah,
just as you first come into it.
absolutely. Well,
I think we should put that on the agenda.
coming
So-
up a planting plan for Millen.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I just want to make sure we're giving equal consideration to all of the neighbors. Like I know Jennifer has come to us several times. She's concerned about people walking on her property. She has her animals, which represent her
Right.
livelihood,
Yeah.
on her property that she doesn't want people getting too close to.
She also has some of her fencing on our property,
Okay, but
if you look at where the park is marked
that's
out.
not the point of what I'm saying,
No,
right?
I
It's just
understand.
that like we need to listen. If we're gonna
Yeah.
listen to one neighbor, we certainly should be prepared to listen to all of the neighbors around the park and their genuine concerns.
Yeah, we certainly prioritize it, you know, absolutely. You know, but again, lawn runs right into our park, you know, there is a natural barrier, weeds, there's a fence, so there's a little bit of protection there, but yes, we do.
I agree with you, but I just want you to remember the conversation that we're having. So if something should come up with someone else's property, whether it's Jennifer's or someone else, that we're going to have a good neighbor policy, that's what I like to call it. And I think the park committee should take that question up this Sunday. All right? Excellent. Ray, I mean, it was just coming up. We all noticed it, how, you know, you gotta section it off, but how do we go about it? But there are some, you know, legal things, you know, we do it for you, we gotta do it for someone else.
Yeah, well, I
So
don't
I
know,
just, you know, just bring it up.
we're certainly working on it, and it's a work in
Good.
progress, and, you know, we have
But you're
something
right.
in plan, it's
And
gonna
we're
take us
not gonna-
time to do it.
We're not gonna do it all at once.
Right.
No.
And what we're saying is that we
Ray,
think that
that
we think that that one section
we always looked at it
is
and said,
the
wow.
top priority at this point, to do that one, get that done.
Right,
And then maybe next year we'll think about another area.
okay.
I do actually have a question on the planting and budgeting. It's not really possible for the committee to do a planting much larger than what happened in the
Oh,
spring. I mean, of
yeah.
course, it was COVID, so we were just, you know,
Yes.
sort of trying to have a skeleton crew, which was maybe unwise, but it was what it was. We got it done. But the maintenance
Oh my
particularly
goodness.
this summer has been crazy, and those trees almost died, frankly, because that soil is so gravelly and it was incredibly dry. So I know we have money budgeted for this year for maintenance from the town. Highway, I don't know if that's been expended for mowing or whatnot, but I just wonder if we could talk about participation in plantings potentially, or just preparation for plantings with any of the town maintenance crew, or the ongoing watering, whatnot. It's not sustainable to have volunteers doing this much work. They will continue to participate, but Ellen Earl can't single-handed anything,
I know.
right? Like, they
I know.
can't be.
It takes 2 hours to water what's there. 2
Yeah.
hours.
No, more than that.
Okay. Plus the weeding, which doesn't even.
It's a lot,
So,
it's
I
a
was
lot.
there for 3 hours the other day, didn't I?
So again, for the planting-
I was there for 3 hours and I came back with soakers like all day long.
Yeah,
to
it's,
get-
yeah.
It was so
But
dry.
the
It's
planting
so
that
dry.
we're talking about now, if it's planted at this time of year,
Yeah,
again,
it'd
it
be
will
much
establish
better.
itself much
Absolutely.
better through the winter and in the
And
spring
this
when you
was
get
an
rain.
exceptional year as well.
That, it's true, it still would need some
We have
initial
to-
watering though, plus
Yeah.
everything else that's there. So each year, we're just adding more hours and more hours onto the watering schedule
Anyway.
until things are fully established.
It's a question.
Well, yeah, I
So
mean,
if-
I don't think the highway department is gonna go out there and plant stuff for us,
No,
or maintain the
right.
plantings. That's something that, quite frankly, I'm just happy they mow the grass, and that's above and beyond what they're supposed to do. I don't even wanna breach the conversation of asking them to do any more than that, to tell you the truth, because it's just something we're probably gonna have to figure out a different way to do it, or budget something to pay somebody else. I mean, we put in $1,000 extra for Jimmy just to coordinate and do some things and help out, which really doesn't even pay for one mowing,
Right.
one couple of months of
He's actually
mowing.
never used it either.
No, but he hasn't, but, I don't know what the answer is to that. There may be a
yeah.
part-time, budget meeting coming up, we may have to talk about maybe some
Well,
part-time budget.
that's the issue with more plantings,
Yeah.
especially
That-
as significant as
yes.
the Miller residence border buffer plant. That's a lot of.
And I don't know how much it would cost, I mean, I don't do landscaping, but what would it cost to hire a company to plant that row for us? Roughly, maybe that's something we should consider.
Depends on what we're
it's-
asking them to plant.
Okay. I
You
mean,
know,
that's
it's a lot
something you
more
may
per
wanna bring
tree
up in your
than shrub.
conversation,
And if we want them to mulch every single plant, or if we want to mulch the whole thing initially, a lot of times landscapers will just literally plant
Yep.
and only give you a little pile of mulch in each plant. That's gonna look horrible and the weeds will grow up. We really want them to mulch. If we're gonna do a continuous line of plantings, mulch the whole thing. That will increase the cost tremendously, but that's why we're doing it piecemeal and planting things in clumps. But
You get 20
anyhow,
mulch.
I think it's worth getting an estimate, to tell you the truth.
I think,
See if
I
it's
think we can,
outrageous or not.
I think we can skip the area where the grapes are, because that's already sprayed. And put something on each end of that and maybe not go all the way.
This isn't Miller you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Which part of
There's
it?
a grapevine.
There's grapes, there's a whole
Established.
section of
Oh,
grapes.
okay, all right,
Yeah, not talking about the.
On the
along
west
the-
side,
the road,
yes,
On
okay.
the west side, yeah.
all right.
That's the area that, in fact, when they saw what you were doing,
Planting,
Travis said to me, he said, "Hey, what he really wanted screening was on the west side of the park, between the
Sure.
park and the.
Well,
Again, he says, cars pull in
I'm sure
there,
that's
and
what
they shouldn't be there in the dark, but some will do, and the lights shine in your back and say, it's all plays into the factor.
he has the ability to put some stuff in
So.
too.
For sure, and I mean, they should reach out to the park committee too. I mean, we'd be happy to take suggestions as to like what's appropriate and have a
And we
conversation.
have plans to put plantings there. It's
I really
just,
think that the more solid and the quickest growing thing you can come up with that's, should be put there would be the best idea. And, hopefully reasonably less
Mhm.
expensive.
Mhm.
So, but maybe you want to kick around committee and talk about that and see if you can try to prioritize that. Come up with a number, even with maybe somebody install it, or give us a number on it.
Mhm.
That would help.
That would be our whole budget, but.
Well, at least then we'll know, and then we'll
Yeah.
say, okay, well, we're
I
gonna go half
think
of
even
it.
if we just someone to prepare the soil, just to get ready for the planting, and then the volunteers can put the plants in and cover them up and maybe even do the mulch, but the combination of the two things in the same year
Yeah, it's
is
really
not
hard.
I
viable.
mean, just digging it, basically it would be a trench, it'd be a trench and it's still, a lot of mulch.
You'd like the holes for the last one, right?
Yeah, but this would be a solid trench, basically, a couple hundred yards, or feet at least, 20, 30 yards of mulch, it's gonna be a lot of,
It's a lot.
No.
It's a lot. It will be a lot, but I'm happy to get numbers.
If
I have
we
good
could.
people I can.
And if you guys can come up with some ideas and then get it to us, or get to Lindsley before our budget meeting, that'd be
Okay.
great.
All right, that last page, the next steps.
Yep.
Number one, permission from the town board to move forward with 2020 park priorities. We've talked about a couple of things here I think we'd like to go forward with, but as far as just anything that we're gonna do, we'd like it to come to the town board with specifics,
Yeah, I understand.
okay? And-
Same,
and the
same
and the
review to us as well.
Yeah, and the specifics that we've talked about is the screening on, between the park and the Miller property.
Mm-hmm,
A couple of picnic tables, and if lightweight tables are not the right thing, but it's something that can be moved without too much trouble, and two of them in particular. You know, more in future years, but as far as for right now, you know, those two, the one at the top of the hill and the one between the trees, and there was something else that we wanted to do also.
We talked about the monarch meadow, adding soil potentially there.
Yep.
Yeah, again, if we can get some numbers thrown on some of the stuff we're throwing, all that stuff, anything you get numbers on for our meeting, that would be great. Then we can
Okay.
decide when the budget, how much we can budget for next year.
Sure.
That would help us a lot.
Yep.
As far as the Friends of Claremont Parks group, I'm not sure exactly what you alluded to that a little bit, or what you want, is that?
We're still in discussion
Trying to
about
get
it.
a bigger group of volunteers, is that, that's really?
Well, that would help a lot with fundraising, because right now, as a town, we're not eligible to apply for a lot of grants, that if we were a 501c3, we would be eligible to apply for a lot more grants. Even some local things like Hudson River Bank and Trust, the Hover Foundation, I can't recall, you know, some other ones that it would give us, you know, that eligibility, and I think it might be easier to fundraise too as a friends group.
The present idea is to apply for a fiscal sponsor to allow a group of volunteers for the park to apply for foundation grants that are only given to a 501c3 nonprofit charity, which the town is, right? So that's the intention, that if we want to do raise money for a playground, or raise money for a community picnic structure, or whatever, maybe we need new sports equipment, whatever it is, like, it gives us another venue to raise money, and an opportunity for the community to take long-term ownership of the park, right? Like, we come and go as elected officials, you need, in a park setting, at least in my mind, it's really beneficial to have people who will be with the park, right? Can spend years and years working in a park committee, friends group, and really build on progress that's been made.
Does
Amy, is this
any other
a
board
native
members have any
type
concerns
thing,
about
or is
just
that,
fundraising
that
we
is, so
talked
that's not
about?
what you're
Because that's
talking
something
about?
that we would need to move on rather
Okay.
quickly in
I
order
don't know.
to
That's
meet
why
the
I wanted to
November,
ask.
deadline for that match. So I don't know if anybody has any concerns about the group moving forward with that.
I'm not sure exactly what you want to do for fundraising.
Well, you know, it could just be solicitation in asking people, you know, if you donate X number of dollars, that you can have a bench named in memory of someone, or, you know, just something like that.
And what we had talked about, probably a couple of years ago now, was, you know, we did put a sign over by the swings of people that donated, some in memorials and some in outright donations. And I had thought about maybe some kind of a sign similar to that would list people, and you know, you can have gold, silver, bronze, you know, depending on a range of how much you put in, but not raising it for anything specific, but just in general for the park. And we've never done that. The fundraising we've done in the past was just kind of by word of mouth. In fact, when we did the swings, that was pretty expensive. You know, Ray and I each made a donation, and we talked to a few people, and Tom Jansen gave us a donation, Mary donated, there were a few others too. You got the list of people that donated. That was just a little short word of mouth. And we've never really gone out to the whole town. We talked about it, if we were going to do more playground equipment, that we would do a full-blown fundraiser, you know, just for donations. And it wasn't so much, not that that's a bad idea, but it wasn't so much of putting your name on something as it was you'd be listed as one of the benefactors of the.
Well, that would be one of the ideas of the Friends group. It would help to broaden the communication around needing funds for the park and making it very clear that it's tax deductible. Like, people are accustomed to giving to charitable entities. I think the idea with benches is just, it's sort of a traditional thing. A lot of people have
Yeah,
this
yeah.
opportunity in parks. It's like they know what
Yeah.
it'll look like. It's just a
Yeah.
nice way to.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. So I'm not sure exactly where all the benches are going at this point. The only thing that I mentioned probably more times than you care to hear, but the two tables, we've got a place that I think is a good place to put those. And then beyond that, you can look and see where you think are good places.
Yeah, I mean, certainly seating is needed in the park. That I
right.
agree with you all on the screening. I think that should be a priority. I'm also concerned just about shade in the park. If you've ever walked in that park in a hot day, it feels unsafe. It's so hot. Like there aren't any trees. So Amy,
That's why the apple orchard's nice.
Yeah.
It's a respite area.
Yeah.
And some of the trails are along the wood line, so they're nice. But that's why it's nice to focus in on some of these areas that will be destinations for visitors.
Mhm.
You know, they'll walk past the sun and through the sun to get to maybe the picnic table in the shade.
Yeah.
Amy brought up a nice idea. I guess at Bard every year you planted a tree for Arbor Day, like something like that. We just at least make a commitment to do 5 or 10 trees or some reasonable number a year, so we can build up.
Isn't it something the
Nicer place
seniors
to
do?
walk.
Yeah, slowly.
Yeah.
They used to a long time ago, and now they want their class gift to go to somewhere
Oh.
else. You know, but it used to be we have old markers.
All right.
And
With
it's
senior
like-
gift for trees,
Yeah.
and they less and less do that.
Okay.
Occasionally they will, but less and less.
All right, I think
thank you.
we've spent a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
I thank you
Every
for
time I
your
walk,
time
it's
that you've
like a
invested.
marathon.
There's a lot of questions, a lot of discussion, but
Yeah.
I mean, you put so much work, the committee has put so much work into this.
Yeah.
I think it warrants a good discussion because we certainly appreciate it.
No, I
And,
appreciate your.
I think the goals are maybe slightly skewed a little bit. I mean, we all have our own visions, I think, but I think we all want the best thing we can do for the town. So I think it's just a compromise of, what issues are priorities and what we can, what am I trying to say?
All depends
Work
on what
together
you're
on-
We just want to work together. That's what I was going to
Work
say. We just
together
want
on
to work
coming
together
up
with you
with it.
because we have a nice group of people and they've been stuck on this for 3 years. We're very dedicated, but I see them getting a little discouraged when
Yeah.
things happen in the park. That's not being compromised with, and we might start losing people, to tell you the truth. And then you will not have a group of people to go to. You'll be on your own to do it, but that's where we're at. That's why part of the reason we wanted to do this, to lay out what we wanted to do, so you knew it's not like a secret thing what we're trying to do. We want the best for the park too, so it's a shared goal. We want to work together. So,
Okay.
Yeah, Amy, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Amy.
Thank you
Yes.
for spending this much time. I
Yeah.
appreciate all the information. And if any numbers you can get to Lindsay before our budget meeting would be great. Help us set our budget for next year. And then we also will determine what we have available for this year as well. So, but we'll do that next week.
do you have specifications on vendors that work for you all, that they have to have anything?
Workman's comp and liability.
Workman's comp, and what about prevailing wage or?
We stay away from that.
Okay, right, okay.
So,
All
as long as they have insurance certificate, that's fine.
Insurance of what, how much?
Liability and usually it's $1 million.
1 million, okay.
I think that's the minimum policy.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lee, I know you've been staying here because
This
you're
is,
really interested in this.
We did map these out, but this is my copy,
You
so I'm
wanna,
gonna take
you
with
wanna
me, but
talk
it's on
something off, or
here.
you wanna stay here
Page
for another
150
hour?
if you wanna see where we're putting apart the.
I need new business, I'm assuming, for a resolution.
Oh, Jesus. All right, give me
No,
10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I'm gonna make some noise.
All right, let's,
I will drop this
We're
off,
good.
though.
oh, good, nice, thank you. Let's start with approval of prior TownBoard minutes. Anybody have any questions, comments, corrections? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Carried. Mary, if you're still awake.
I'm still breathing.
Town clerk report.
Okay. All right, town clerk report for August 2020. Zoning Board of Appeals for special permit application, $100. Dog licenses, $50. Driveway permit, $75. That's for 3 driveway permits. Town clerk's fees, vital statistics for death certificate copies, $140. Community house donations, $40. Interest, 2 cents. Total check for general fund, $405.02. Trust and agency, escrow for a ZBA application for a solar project, I believe, $250. The total check for trust and agency, $250. Paid to New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets for dog licenses, $20. So the total for the month of August, $675.02.
Mary, what's up for your report? Okay. What deleted a line? Oh,
Correspondence?
yeah.
What?
Mail review, it's not on my budget. It's not knocked off. Or on the agenda. What is that for
Okay.
mail review?
The, well, I don't know. Let's see. On September 16th, Wednesday, at 11 to 11:45 a.m., there will be the Alzheimer's Association of Northeastern New York chapter and Eddie Alzheimer's Services presents Caregiver Wellness Virtual Program, Breathing Exercise and Meditation. I don't know where this is going to be held.
Well, you
It
said
doesn't
virtual,
say.
right?
Pardon?
You said virtual?
Yeah, it's going to be pre-registration. So I imagine it will be, yeah. But I guess, yes. And you have to register ahead
It's okay then.
if you want to, if you want to get involved in that. Sorry, I haven't read that in a while. Held it for so long now. And then Meals on Wheels volunteers are needed. That's for our Office of the Aging, the County Office of the Aging Meals on Wheels program. So just notify them if you're interested in being a volunteer to deliver the meals for seniors. And you got that, right? That's for you? Okay, I don't know how I got it, just extra copy. The Elder Express from the Columbia County Office for the Aging for the July through September is on the table that anyone can pick up. And here's more information about the Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Initiative. So if you are interested in that,
Okay.
and that's all I have.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
Do you have any correspondence for the web committee? There's nobody here.
Send something to Chris. I have an email composed that Columbia County is now using New York Alert for their mass emergency notification system, so people need to sign up. And I'll send you what I copied from the county website so that we can put it on our website.
Okay, good.
All right.
I think it's effective September 29th. Did
It
goes
already, I
into
think it was
effect?
August
I think
29th.
when August went.
It was August 29th.
I believe it's in
Okay.
effect now, I believe, yeah.
Okay. If you're already signed up for the code red,
You have to sign up again.
no, there's one of them, for one of the phone numbers, if it's your house phone, I believe, it's same, and they'll call.
I think you're right. But if it's
Cell
your cell phone or
cell number or anything like
email,
that, you have to sign up for that, yeah, or email, I believe is the
Yes,
other
you're
one.
right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, one thing I forgot to mention, Germantown is doing, the actual Columbia County Health Department is doing a drive-through flu vaccination
Oh,
at Valentine Park.
Drive-through?
Drive-through flu vaccination on October
You say in
8th.
your car or what?
I think so. Says seasonal flu vaccinations, a scheduled community drive-through clinic for all Columbia County residents 2 years and older who would like a flu shot. Pre-registration is required to receive your flu shot on the date you want to attend. You do not, or excuse me, if you do not register ahead of time, you cannot receive vaccination at the clinic. So,
Well, you said it was October 8th.
October 8th.
Then you said on the day you.
You have to register, pre-register, otherwise you can't just go there on the 8th. If you don't pre-register, you're not
Okay,
allowed.
but you mentioned to register for the day that you wanted. That sounded like there was more than one day.
No, you just have to register for that day.
Okay, and how do you register?
Well, this is for Palatine Park. They also have it at Chatham Fairgrounds and, where's this, Columbia Green Community College at a different date.
Okay,
So this is actual Palatine Park,
okay.
which I'm gonna give, I think I'll give this, can you put that on the website? If I give this
Sure.
to you for now?
Yep.
So it's just basically saying if you have any illnesses of COVID-19, symptoms do not come, blah, blah, blah. But if we can post that, that'd be great, link to it, or link it at least to it.
Do we have a soft copy of this?
I have an email, I received an email from, that was it. I can send you an
Was it
email.
an attachment?
Yes.
Yeah, just send that to me.
Okay.
And it's probably a PDF or something. I'll just post the PDF on the web.
You can have that one. Okay.
Yeah, just send that to me.
All right.
You can also get flu shots, I think, at the pharmacy. A friend of mine was
Yeah, they're all
was
starting to
walking
go.
out of Hanover today, he said he had just gotten his flu shot.
All right. I guess we'll move on to committee reports. This should be pretty quick. Bob.
Maybe not as quick as you think.
Oh, here we go.
Last month, in our executive session, we agreed to waive the fourth quarter payment for the Canaan Fellowship. And somehow that didn't get into the minutes, and I think it's because we didn't actually come out and make the motion. So I'd like to just make that motion. Now, the letter's already gone out to them. Mary sent, Ray had asked Mary, and she did send the letter out. And I'd like to just formalize that we agree, move that we agree to waive the fourth quarter payment.
You want to make the motion, or do you want
Yeah.
me to?
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
All right,
And Bob can second.
okay, I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay.
I have absolutely no problem doing that since they didn't use it for 3 or 4 months, and obviously they've been great tenants and good working relationship.
Yeah.
Put some money into the building. I think we at least owe them that. So it's being fair.
Yeah. They did meet there this past Sunday for the first time since March. And they've been doing it, being in the private homes, and when they say private home, what it means is somebody's garage or somebody's barn. There's
Yeah.
no heat. But they did say, because they asked in the meeting, I was told by Claudia that what do people want to do? Do they want to come back and meet here, or do they want to continue private homes? They said continue private homes until it gets really cold, because they don't have heat in the
Right.
ground anymore. So they
Right.
will be back in there by the end of the year, but they've been there a long time not there in Paris. So
Yeah.
it's,
Okay. Anything else?
yeah. Do we need a motion to, the things that we had just asked the committee to do, couple picnic tables and that, we need a motion to spend that money, or?
I would obviously like to wait and see what they come back with,
Yeah,
or
it
some
depends
kind of
on the dollar
estimates.
amount.
Yeah, I
We can do
think
that at the budget meeting.
we'll do it at the budget meeting.
All right, so the budget meeting, we can do other business. I mean, I don't want to wait till next month. because
Yeah,
if
no, we'll be able
I'd
to.
like people to be able to maybe even use it for a couple times this year still.
Yep.
All right, we can wait.
We'll
till-
discuss at the budget meeting.
Okay.
We will advertise that as and in all businesses necessary,
Alright.
like usual. right?
And as far as any other community, you all know the signs are up. Jimmy did a nice job of putting them up. And the culvert is in for the path. There's a couple of piles of material. I think some of you have seen that.
I've seen
And there'll be more, and he's gonna finish that up. It will be covered with stone dust, where they know after they get the base in, and there'll be topsoil on the side, and we can plant grass and maybe some poppies or something. I guess that's about it.
Okay,
Getting late.
getting late. Lindsay?
Well, I don't need to do a park update. The HEPA filters were purchased and are here. They're very, so quiet, which is wonderful. I put up a sign to indicate that if people are having a public meeting, they should turn them on. And I just said that they should turn them off when they lock up. Does that make sense? We don't need to have them
Yeah, I
running all
didn't
the
see the
time.
sign, but
I just put it up probably
Oh,
after yours.
okay.
Yeah.
okay.
But it has a picture of the HEPA
That, I
filter
thought
itself.
I missed it walking in, but
Yeah, no,
okay.
no, no. It was
Understood.
just fresh. So, does that make sense? Do we need to run them all the time overnight?
I don't
Well,
think
that's the
so.
question. Do we want it to run nonstop? I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'd probably go through filters a lot quicker, obviously, if we have it running nonstop, but,
Mhm.
I don't know, I guess.
It's up to, and if you want to have it going when you're
Let's say
here.
whenever anybody's here, we may put them on, that's all.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Sure.
And just so you know, the extra filters, I got two. I didn't do the subscription thing. It was just too complicated dealing with this company. But there's 2 extra filters upstairs in the box.
Good.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, anything?
Yeah, just real quick. Ellen did updates on the park committee pages. And I had forwarded that out to everyone. I don't know if everyone saw it. And it does make sense that it would be difficult for her to do that prior to coming to, it's either you do it or you think about doing it and then come to us. So she did reply back to me. I don't know if she replied all or not, but just based on the work that she did was, it was not really feasible to do the work without actually posting it live, because when we spoke about it, it was, keep it as a draft copy, and they were really pages, but once you start to organize the pages, then that kind of goes away. It's not so simple. So she did post the park committee things on the website, so it's all live already. That wasn't exactly what we wanted, but I understood her response that it was not really feasible. So I wanted everyone to at least know that and go on if they want to look to see what was done.
All right, I mean, obviously, if it becomes an issue, we'll stop it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should.
No, I don't have any issues what was there. It just wasn't in line with what we had talked about. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew. So if they wanted to go on and look and verify that, they can do that.
Okay.
Second thing, we got a quote from the county. The price isn't great, but it's in line with everything else that I'm finding. And from the county for Mary's desktop computer, they've outlined the computer itself, a monitor, 1 year subscription of antivirus, and Microsoft Home and Business, which she needs as well. And that quote comes to $890.37. So I think we approved $1,000.
$1,000.
Right, so I'm proposing that we go along with this
That's a
rather
county
than.
bid, so that's acceptable as a bid.
Yep.
That sound acceptable, Lee?
Works for me.
Okay. Why don't we make a motion to accept that and
So
approve?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Who
Carried.
made the motion, Chris?
Bob.
Okay.
Bob made the
Sorry.
motion.
Bob and
Dawn
Dawn,
second.
right?
All right, let's get it going. So Mary has a computer.
Yep.
Is it a bigger monitor than that little tiny peep show?
24 inch.
24 inch, good.
Yeah.
That would've
Yeah,
never-
it's,
Okay, good. Excellent.
bigger than your,
As long as I can read it.
12 inch.
oh, you'll read it.
I'm beginning to have a problem reading that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
All right, Dawn?
I did do the open house on the 22nd, and I was shocked that I didn't go in there and find all kinds of dead bees, I'll tell you. There's barely a bee in there. I don't know where they're all gone to, but that was interesting.
Finally moved out.
One
after-
person showed up, it was Hank Himmelwright, actually.
Really?
And he has done a lot of work out at St. John of the Wilderness, which is by the same architect. So it was actually an interesting conversation, and Lindsay was there too. And I did start follow-up on those 2 grants that Mary Howard noted last month, that the Lowe's Heroes and something at Home Depot. From what I can see right now, it's 501c3s, but I will call the managers at both of those and see if there's something other than what's on the website. So I'll continue to follow up on that.
Okay, good.
I think one thing we should follow up with is just the state of the church when you got there. Was
I
not
did.
cleaned up after the
Right, I
holiday
did,
event?
I was in
so
contact
we
with
need to-
Tammy because it was
Okay.
still set up for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I did let Tammy know, and she was surprised that it was still that way. She thought they had cleaned it up that, the same day as the caroling. And she said that she would go over, I guess, whatever week it was that week, I can't recall, I'm losing track of time. I guess last week that she would go over and get all the Christmas stuff.
Okay.
But,
All right.
It was less the holiday theme than like the dirt and like.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
It hadn't
because-
vacuumed after that.
Because it's, they had left that night, and just, everybody walks across the grass, the carpet was kind of muddy. But I was able to vacuum it up. There's a couple of spots there, I'm not sure what's on the carpet, that it's like a tan. I thought it was mud, but I'm not quite sure it's mud. I don't know
In
what
the
it is.
future, we probably should have somebody do a quick cleaning before we do
Okay.
something like that.
Right.
You
I mean,
know.
I've done it before, and it's not that bad. It's just mopping up, or, vacuuming up the bees. This
Yeah.
year, I was shocked that when I went in there, it was still from Christmas. But,
I'm sure we can find a few dollars in the budget to have somebody go throw a
Right.
vacuum across it and mop it up quick and, you know,
Right.
$100 or
That'd be
something.
great.
In the
Big-
past, what's happened is we usually have a wedding sometime, and that Mary has Barbara go over there and clean. So if I've done something like that, it's a quick cleanup. So this year we didn't have anything like that. But yeah.
Yeah, there's no point in cleaning it right after the Christmas thing, because nobody uses it until at least May or June.
Right,
So-
right.
So, and I wasn't on top of it this time to even think to ask somebody
Yeah, and
to
I,
go in and clean it.
yeah, I didn't
We
even,
used, across the road too, what's her name?
Um,
A couple times, right?
Yeah, different people.
Yeah.
Yes, I can't think.
So, yeah, next time we have something scheduled, make sure
Okay.
we throw somebody there for a few minutes and clean it up. All right. Okay, let's move on. Let's start with new business. Let's take care of this patient gentleman that's been here for almost 2 hours.
All right.
What can we do for you?
I would like to request a resolution to apply for a JCAP grant for the court of up to $30,000 to install heat and air ductless systems in both these courtrooms, upgrade the internet that we have internally, and a new steel door, but not limited to those.
Okay.
Anything else that might come up while I'm getting bids, along because I'm going to need an electrician too for the heat and air.
$1 million question. Is this gonna cost us anything?
It will not cost the town $1.
So moved.
Lee asked me that there was a grant coming up with available money for the courts, and I remember last month we talked about maybe air conditioning units.
Yeah.
I says if you could do that, that'd be great. So he's putting that into that grant. So that would be awesome. So
Would the ductless air be an issue with the building if it's
a
a
historic
historic
building, yeah.
building?
I don't think so.
We're not encumbered on this one, the one next door.
No,
Because
this
we-
is
that's
on-
under the historic binder over there.
This is too, isn't it?
I don't think
No, I
so.
don't think so.
It's in the Claremont Civic Historic District, which is in the
No,
National
but we
Register.
got a grant from the state,
Right,
and that's
that-
what tied that one up.
right, but I
Anything you do has to
think
be
that's
approved.
almost over.
It may be.
It's either this year or next year, I
But
think.
as far as I know, that was never applied to this building.
If we can get a grant to put the units in, we'll figure out a way to.
Yeah, the scope of the resolution is just for the money. It doesn't cover approval for anything to be
Oh,
installed.
there's no installation or anything like that?
Well, no, this is just for the money to get the items and get it installed. If the town says we can't do it, we just have to return the money.
Okay.
I'm not asking for permission to install anything, replace anything. It's
Right.
simply to apply for a grant.
I think with the ductless air, you need like a 3-inch hole. I think it's about a 3-inch
It's pretty
hole for.
minimal.
It's
you know.
small.
It's-
Yeah, just two, two
I was
pipes.
assuming we put the unit over here, so I figured I would just apply to get 2 head units, one for each room.
That, I assumed you're talking about at least 2, because you had mentioned 2.
Yeah, one for each, because I figure we're not gonna put the compressor on this side
No.
Right.
with the parking, so
If
for
you
them
have
to
the north
install the
side.
second head unit in this room. Because initially Ray had talked about just putting it out here, but if
you-
we can get enough money to cover both
You
rooms,
still have to connect.
it's
that-
piping and electrical is all it is. It's
How
control
would you
wires.
Plumb,
They could pipe it up, through the attic or something, go across.
I mean, a drain you could run out, but how would you run the Freon
It's just the
lines?
Freon line. They can
Yeah.
take up and go across and go out the other side, up in the
Yeah,
attic.
they're smaller lines. They're
Yeah.
I think
I guess
I
I'm
think-
trying to visualize how they would actually do it. So it actually have to go outside, up,
So the
and then
unit,
back
unit
in?
would mount on the wall. The
Yeah.
Freon, I think you could just take up and put it right through the attic.
I just don't know what's in the walls because of the
Not
age of
much.
the building. You know what I mean?
To be determined. If we get the money,
I mean,
we'll
the
have,
other
we'll
option
have
is
to
on the
look
outside of the
into it.
building.
You mean like
but I'm-
insulation?
Has a contractor already given a bid on what it
No,
is?
I called one that he suggested and he doesn't do AC.
So this is just permission to go forward?
This is just permission to ask for the money from the state.
Right.
If for some reason it doesn't get installed, like I
Then
said,
it's gotta
we
go
just
back.
return the money if we even get it.
Yeah.
It's just asking for a grant. They
Great.
can approve, they can deny, they can piecemeal it to us. They might say, internet's important for security reasons, so here's money only for the internet.
Right.
Same with the door. If anybody has any suggestions for anything else that they can think
They're
of.
pretty good about
Talking front
allowing
door?
money.
Yeah,
Not all of
the
it, but-
only question, it comes back to what it always does, is what are we gonna give up as a result of accepting the money, because we always get,
Well, we
Yeah.
haven't- no,
The
no,
courts
that-
are different though, the courts they're
This is
totally
different.
different. They
Yeah,
get what they want.
I think we did, so we did the exit sign one year, because I think we put one in and we didn't have a second one.
Yeah.
So I did a grant for that. I did a grant to move the electrical and internet from behind my desk into that closet.
you didn't like it there?
You got a copier, right?
I
Copier.
got- Oh yeah, this copier, and then the old one was donated to the
That's
town,
right,
that's
I
the one in the
remember
back.
that.
And there's no strings attached. They basically give the money to the town, you just have to spend it on what was approved. The air conditioner and the window over there actually came from the grant.
And the doors are not these doors, but the other.
This
The
middle
other one's
one here is all
rusted out,
rusty,
Uh-huh.
it's just nasty looking.
Yeah.
So I was proposing
I
just
say
to
we push it
replace it.
through and.
The
Exactly.
courts get a lot of money given to them, even on the county level, so, they'll probably get something, so do we have a motion? You approve it?
Yeah, I moved, but do you have a resolution written, or is,
No, does it have to be in writing?
I don't know.
We'll write it.
Neither do I.
You're right.
You're gonna need it,
I'll
you're gonna
second.
need it.
And actually, we've actually already got a grant for $890 this year, so I'll bring those masks in. Just put them upstairs. We got like 500 paper masks, some extra hand sanitizer,
Great.
these shields. And they actually, so when they inventory items for the court, none of that is included. They only come in, they inventory the electronics, and that's it. I needed a new scanner, they sent me one.
Nice.
That wasn't even part of a grant, that was just, here, we have one in the office, take it. Doesn't
All right,
cost
so
the
the
town
motion's been
anything.
made and seconded.
To
I'll
apply
second.
for, what's the name of it?
JCAP, JCAP,
You got that?
I do.
Apply for the JCAP grant.
Yep.
Motion,
up to $30,000.
up to $30,000.
Okay.
Perfect. You got a motion? You got a second?
I'll second.
Dawn second, Bob
Chris
motion?
already seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
Who's
take your pick.
Huh?
It doesn't matter.
All in favor?
Doesn't matter.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you.
We'll write it up. Thank you,
And if
sir.
anybody does think of anything, let me know.
We
Okay?
should work on some lighting.
Another month, I can.
If I knew you were coming forward with something like that, I would have put you earlier, man,
That's okay.
You gotta
Besides,
tell me
wasn't
that.
Next
it-
year.
wasn't it
I
just
got
a-
stuck at work. Today just was not the day.
You gotta tell me stuff like that.
I got
gotta
stuck
do
at
it.
work. My parents called me up. Car broke down.
But this was an
Somebody go
interesting
rescue
meeting
them.
to attend, right?
What's that?
This is an interesting meeting to attend, the first
Oh,
time.
actually, I thought it was great. It was, yeah, that was
Come
very
again.
interesting.
Come again.
More often.
Oh, all right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
put more
you.
money.
Good
All
night.
right, thank you all.
Have a good night, Lee.
Just old business. This should go pretty quick. I got some
Paul used to say,
updating.
come again when you can't stay so long.
That's right. The monitoring wells to the park. Last month we talked a little bit about that, about the funding, what it was gonna cost to monitor these wells. I did speak with the engineer again, the town engineer, and I don't know, when I briefly skimmed through that, I don't know why I thought they were doing soil sampling, but it is all the well sampling, obviously, water wells. But the engineer told me the reason why they're sampling every one of them is because basically, it's not what he called it, but the upstream water is in off-site, so they want to see what the levels are there, and then they want to see what the levels are under the cap, which runs down through to see if the cap's actually performing what they want and the levels are acceptable. So that's the reason why they have to exclude every well, even though they're not on site. They're off, they're off on
So
the clean area.
what wells are they, if they're off-site?
There's well, it was in that report, there was what,
Okay,
7
so
others?
They're in
They-
the property.
They're in the property, but not on the
Not
clean
in the-
area.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing the map.
And Ray Jakowski told me, I says, listen, I said, what can we do to get the cost down? And he says, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's not a thing you're gonna do this year, because they're gonna wanna see every single piece of data they can from all the wells. He says, so you gotta go through, I says, well, I kinda know that's too late anyway. He says, you gotta go through it this year. He says, depending on what it comes back at for, the levels, he says, you can apply, you can call, you can apply for them to take a look at it and see if they'll give you a reduced testing, which is possible. He says they usually do that after 5 years, which, then they put you on like a 3-year cycle, and it's like $7,000 or $8,000 a year instead of 15.
Yeah.
So it's a lot less money, and it's every 3 years. But he says they may do it earlier depending on what the levels are, but they gotta have a baseline. And he says, I wouldn't be surprised to make it at least go a couple, 3 years with a full report. So that's where we're at. So I already told them we already authorized to go ahead with this year because, we have to anyway.
Yep.
But we can apply to the state and, ask them to see if there's anything we can do after we get this year behind us.
And the alternative is we say, no, we're not doing it, and they say,
Yeah,
okay,
that's not an
now it's
option.
gonna be $900,000 instead of $15,000.
Yep.
So that's that. Park lot rails, we're just, again, I just mentioned we're waiting for that. That should be this next week or two here to get the parking rails done. The HEPA filters I didn't have on there. I just want to thank you, Lindsay, again for getting that taken care of, getting here and hooked up, and they're working. And like I said, you can barely hear them. This is great. So anything
Ray,
else?
are those,
Yeah, this is louder.
Yeah, I got them.
Ray, on those parking lot rails, and they were gonna do the fence over here also? We're gonna ask them to do the other one?
Well, they know nothing about that, but I mean, once they're here, I can ask them simply, can we just throw this? It's only 4 sections, so 2 on each side. So I mean, I can't imagine it's 4 holes. I can't imagine.
But
for
somebody's
6
gonna
holes.
have to buy the.
We'll have to get the
two
material. We're gonna get the material for the front one too. So yeah, we should actually get that now and get it here. So when they do show up, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have Jimmy pick that up because we're exchanging that. So then it's a matter of 6 holes there and 2 holes up front. So.
One of the things with the filters is, I mean, I've noticed this before, but we definitely need more outlets in this room at some point, just because it creates a tripping hazard with running cables all over the place. So at some point, I don't know, maybe with the court even to install a couple of additional outlets, like along
Maybe
the
I'll
wall
have him
would
put
be
that in the electrician's
helpful.
job when he does have to get a couple extra outlets around. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Because it's an old building, yeah. I mean, it's few and far between, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. New business, a lot of just basically updates. I just want to mention again, Mary Howard and her husband donating the $5,000 as a matching, up to $5,000 as a matching grant. I think that's awesome. That's great for her continued support. And Bob Desmond, last week, I believe it was, gave me a check for $2,000 to start with. So there's $2,000 towards the $5,000.
Great,
So
thank you, Bob.
thank you very much, Bob. So now we only got to come up with another $3,000. I think
Phyllis has
said 1,000.
pledged 1,000.
So we should easily come up with $5,000 to match Mary, so we'll
Now,
give us an
what
extra
was
10.
Phyllis was talking about, it was a 6,000.
Well, she was saying she was going to give 1,000, I think.
Adding
So she
to.
wasn't,
Or was
she
she-
wasn't gonna be matching,
Matching.
she's giving,
She was going to donate 1,000, yeah.
okay.
So-
Yeah, that's not what I got. I thought Mary was doing the $5,000
Up to
match.
5,000 match. Yeah.
I thought she was gonna do the same thing with 1,000.
No, she intended it as a match to the 5,000.
Oh,
was my
okay.
understanding.
I kind of
Okay,
took it
so-
that way,
So
so.
there's 3 of the 5 that's been.
3 of the 5
Three
already.
of the 5, that's
Yeah.
what Mary gives. If it's 3, she gives 3.
Right.
Yep.
If we don't
We get
collect
5,
any
she
more,
gives 5.
yep.
I believe
Okay.
that's the way.
So we'll have no problem getting $5,000. So again, I want to thank Mary, her husband, and Bob. Appreciate it. Again, continued support for the park. Budget workshop meeting, I just want to set the date, which we've talked about already, for September 16th, which is Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. That's for the budget meeting and any other business that comes before the board necessary, like usual. And then I'd also like to set a secondary date, if needed, for Tuesday, September 22nd at 6:30. Again, as needed, so we don't have to go through any more advertising. State aid, just want to mention, we received a check for $2,870.66 from the state for our 2019 assessment roll. That's for being at 100% last year. Remember how they give you funds every year if you're at 100%? Unfortunately, we will not be getting that for next year because we have the issue with our assessment dropping to 95% for 2020.
97.
97. It was
Yeah,
under
that's-
100.
I just got the bill today for school tax. It
How
said
did that
97.
happen?
She did everything she could. She fought with them. They argued the valuation on the properties, and they could not come to an agreement. They basically would not give her 100%. So
Must have something to do with everybody leaving New York State.
it could be. It could be. I
And
don't
they
know.
want more
but
money.
Unfortunately,
Well, no, it's the real estate market up here
it's
is going
crazy.
crazy.
It's crazy.
It is.
So it threw everything off. She's on it. She's going to have it for next year, but unfortunately, the 2020 roll is not at 100%. So it
So
basically.
21 is gonna be 100?
Like always, the tax drives people away. That's why they're all leaving New York State.
Okay.
So just basically, we received a letter saying that we were getting a check. A check already showed up. Already was here tonight. So just stating the cyclical assessment, reassessment, 2019 assessment roll. So it's just basically saying that because we were 100%. So that's great. I mean, I know she worked on it last year and tried to get it this year and she couldn't. So Unfortunately, the good thing is $2,800, we didn't budget for that, so that's an extra little shot in the arm.
Do you know if other surrounding towns are in the same boat?
Several towns had an issue this past year, and again, because of the values just going crazy. I don't know how many there were, but there were several that dropped below 100%.
What is the timing of that state assessment?
Well, it has to be completed by what, was it March or May? May?
March 1st, I believe.
March
March
1st.
is the last you can get your assessments.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to be, if you had over 95% or higher, they gave you 100.
So that was even pre-COVID.
They used to.
Yeah, I know she went round and round with them on this, and she totally was aggravated. They disagreed with her, and they couldn't come to an agreement. And they have the final say, but they didn't get it. So, and I told her, I said, I don't really care what you have to do. I said, I want back to 100%. So next year she'll be making sure we're back to 100%. So, it's going to be increasing values more than that.
It's just increased tax every year.
Well, I just pay a little more tax. That's all.
Yeah.
Don't shoot the assessor.
Yeah.
Not
No, it's not the assessor's fault. It's
No.
the state and the person that runs it.
Yeah. Now, we're not getting political here.
That's not even political. That's
And
just
even
a
the
straight.
city people can't get out fast enough.
Yeah.
They want to be up
People are
here.
leaving
They
New
don't
York
care how
and
much they have
but
to
you know what? It's the
It's
safest place to
true.
be right now, though.
I mean,
Yes,
you could
exactly.
live here your whole
Probably
life and
moving
be
into New
taxed
York,
out
but they
of
don't
your
wanna
own
be in
house.
California.
Watch out.
Oh, I don't care about that.
What's that?
Some
I'll
of them
share
probably
my
moved to
view.
California to be on
It's
this coast
ridiculous.
instead of that coast.
I know.
I'm sure, because
You
this is
can
the safest
cuddle
place to
that.
be.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a bad situation out there.
The assessment increases had a big impact on people.
Oh, it's huge.
Like,
I mean,
taxes and so on. I
it
mean, I
doesn't
know
do
it
much
does
for the
it.
town, but
Absolutely.
geez, that affects your school tax, and your school tax is gonna kick you right out of the county.
Yeah.
And the
that's
school
a
tax
problem.
is the big one, that's no doubt.
Yeah.
That's bad. Last thing I wanted to bring up new business is just an update on Red Wing property. We did receive in the mail, and I know Mary's a copy of it, the lead agency has been accepted for Mylan to be lead agency on the DEC project with Rojan, and it does list us in here as Mylan as lead agency. They have no objections, and Town of Claremont Planning Board is listed also. So it's been approved by DEC that Mylan will be taking part of the lead agency, so that's good. So that confirms that, and we will be included. So that's about all I have. Supervisor report, I think we talked about everything. I know one thing, talking about the state, the county is in dire need for some state reimbursements because the state has not reimbursed the county one dime since this happened in March. So all the state funding has been withheld because I believe, well, the state's out of money and they're waiting for federal reimbursement. So the county is low on funds. I don't know, the sales tax has been doing okay. It's only down 8 to 10%, 8% the last I checked, which is much better than they predicted originally. And I even said I didn't believe it was going to be as bad.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of online purchases are,
And
the-
even
the
go to
county's taking the
store.
hit for
You
that.
walk in the store, I mean, people are out shopping and spending money anyway right
Yeah.
now. I mean, it's
There's
so.
been some reports that a lot of people, because they're staying home, they're actually doing renovations on their house and buying appliances.
People are spending
well,
money.
there's a shortage of appliances as well.
There's a shortage on everything. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go try to buy anything in the stores, it's kind of basically, it's tough
Right.
to get. So I think we're going to be okay. We won't really have a better idea until the next sales tax round comes out, but I'm not worried because I really think things are picking up and it seems to be trending where it's much better than we originally thought. So we could absorb a 10% decline and be fine.
Right.
So, other than that, not a whole lot more to talk about tonight. Move on, motion to pay abstracts.
I'll make a motion, we pay highway abstract number 9, vouchers 64 through 77, in the amount of $71,173.74.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Move to pay general abstract number 9A in the amount of $4,062.48.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I make a motion to pay general prepaid abstract number 9 vouchers number 205 through 207 in the amount of $216.45.
Did that one.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I make a motion to pay trust and agency number 6, voucher number 10, in the amount of $131.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I didn't
Carried.
say the voucher numbers, Mary, but I think you probably got them, if not, you'll find them.
Want to amend it? Well, I don't care, whatever.
You got it.
I don't think it matters that much.
All right. Public comment. I think we chased everybody out of here.
Sure
I
did.
don't see anybody left.
No.
I made my
Meeting-
public
I just
comment.
said.
The only thing I do want to do is, I do just want to say, again, I want to thank the committee for the park committee for all the work that's being done on this. I also want to thank the highway department for working on this as well. You know, we certainly, we touched on it tonight, and I would like to say that, you know, there is no doubt we save tens of thousands of dollars with these guys. So we kind of work very delicately with them to what we can ask them to do. But, you know, just the mowing alone, if we had to hire somebody to mow that, I mean, just ridiculous. So,
Right.
they submitted a budget, again, we'll go over the budget meeting, with, again, I think it was the 1% or 1.5% raises. And again, we'll talk about that as far as raises go. But I certainly appreciate everything they do, and everybody's volunteering and helping out. So, that being said, unless anybody else has any comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.